Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Everyone. God level talent. All items dropped. Chapter 81. Arms. I threw away this weapon. Wei Kai suddenly woke up and looked at the weapon in the hand of the mountain patrol demon, and was very excited. The weapon in the opponent's hand was one of the 3 weapons sucked away by the cave. Unexpectedly, it appeared in the hands of the mountain patrolling demon in a blink of an eye. It seems the idea is right. Wei Kai firmed up his thoughts, then picked up his staff and started fighting with the little monster patrolling the mountain. Although he has weapons, the level of the mountain patrol demon is too low after all, only level 10. Soon he was beaten to pieces by Wei Kai and ran away in a hurry. As soon as the little demon patrolling the mountain ran away, Wei Kai immediately chased after him, fighting all the way along the mountain road towards the cave. Soon, the battle in front of the cave started again. This time, Wei Kai showed no mercy and directly took out the golden cudgel and swept everything. In just 3 minutes, all the little demons were swept away. Afterwards, Wei Kai quickly put away the golden cudgel and replaced it with a spear weapon. Swish to the ground. As soon as he approached the cave entrance, the spear in his hand was sucked directly into the cave by a huge suction force. Wei Kai was not surprised and instead laughed. "You like sucking, don't you? I want you to suck as much as you can." After saying that, he opened his backpack and poured out the thousands of weapons inside. Crash! He fell down and sucked wildly. As soon as one came out, one was sucked away without stopping at all. In this way, the weapons in the backpack were decreasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. I don't know how long it took. When there were less than 10 weapons left in the backpack, a cry of surprise suddenly came from the ground next to him. "Don't lose it, stop it." An old voice came from underground. Wei Kai was startled when he heard the words and quickly stopped what he was doing. "Who is it?" he asked loudly. "Laochen is the land of Qingxi Mountain." As soon as he finished speaking, a short figure suddenly appeared on the ground next to him. Wei Kai took a closer look and his jaw suddenly dropped. The guy in front of me who calls himself Land is not only short in stature, but also has the head of a human and the body of a bird. His face is covered with red spots, and he is extremely ugly. He asked subconsciously, "Are you a human or a ghost?" "Wrong. What did you say you were?" "I am the Earth God here." The short figure fluttered his wings and said, "Earth God." Wei Kai was stunned at first, and then he remembered that in Journey to the West, in his previous life, every time Sun Dasheng encountered difficulties, someone would come out to answer his doubts and guide him along the way. "Is the land god in front of me the same? Then what did you mean when you told me to stop just now?" he asked quickly. Tutu calmed down and began to tell, "There is a treasure in the cave, which fell from the sky. It occupied the mountain, took away the old cave, and summoned countless little monsters to occupy the mountain and become kings, causing harm to the whole party." "What on earth is it?" Wei Kai became more and more curious. "I don't know its true identity. I only know that all the little monsters outside are summoned by it." Tutu explained. "As long as its true form cannot be found, it will be useless no matter how many of these little monsters are killed. Soon they will be gone. We'll recover." No wonder. Wei Kai suddenly realized. The weapons you throw away will soon be sucked away by it and eventually become weapons in the hands of the little demons. Tutu continued. "The more you throw away, the more powerful those little demons will be." "It doesn't matter." Wei Kai laughed and said, "I just want to let him suck it all. But I just noticed that if you continue to throw it away, it will probably wake up soon, and then you won't be able to leave." Tutu sighed. "Leave? I don't want to leave." Wei Kai asked doubtfully, "Is it because of you that I was rumored before?" Tutu retorted, "I am saving someone's life." "I see." I finally figured out what was going on. Wei Kai shouted in his heart and wished he could beat up the land in front of him. "Why spread the word when you have nothing to do? They came here to clear the dungeon, but before they could clear the good dungeon, they were forced out by you. What a joke." Thinking of this, Wei Kai waved his hand directly and said, "Then don't worry about it." "Do you have a way to deal with this monster?" Tutu asked curiously. "Just watch." Wei Kai sneered, then took out the last few weapons from his backpack and threw them into the cave. Seeing this scene, Tutu's expression suddenly changed. "Hey, if young people don't listen to advice, it's over." Before he finished speaking, the mountain in front of him suddenly shook, and then the entire Qingxi mountain shook violently, and the sky and the earth were spinning. When the land saw this, he was so frightened that he screamed, "I don't care anymore, you and I can run for our lives." After saying that, it turned into a puff of smoke and disappeared. Seeing this scene, Wei Kai suddenly laughed out of anger. "You can't fight, you're the first to run away. The land in Qingxi Mountain is indeed exactly the same as the land in Journey to the West. When encountering something big, be the first to run away." However, before he could be happy for too long, the mountain in front of him suddenly exploded, and a strange figure covered with weapons rushed out. "What the hell is this?" Wei Kai was startled and quickly moved aside. Only then did he realize that the body of the monster in front of him was actually composed of various weapons. Among them was a staff he had used before, which turned into a fang of the monster. Well done. After seeing the enemy's appearance clearly, Wei Kai became excited. "I am not afraid that you will be great, but I am afraid that you will not come out. No matter how powerful the monster is, as long as you dare to show the blood bar, I will kill you." After saying that, he picked up the golden cudgel and rushed forward. Seeing this, the monster immediately launched an attack. Drink. Wei Kai rushed halfway and immediately activated his charge skill, colliding with the monster. Then both sides bounced away. Wei Kai was shocked when he saw this. "Good guy, your strength is almost the same as mine. Even a level 20 boss might not be able to withstand his collision." However, the monster made of weapons in front of him seemed to be fine. "Since you can't hit me, let's go head on." Wei Kai was not afraid at all and rushed forward with his stick again. The monster also regained its strength and came over again waving its weapon. "Take my stick." Wei Kai shouted loudly, swung the golden cudgel in his hand like the wind, and hit the monster on the head with a bang. Then the serial blows continued one after another, hitting the same position hard one after another. On the third strike, the internal injury message finally appeared on the monster's head. Wei Kai was immediately overjoyed. The iron rod in his hand moved faster and faster, one after another. 3 seconds later, a series of consecutive blows were completed, and the blood bar above the monster's head had been reduced by a large amount. It's nothing more than that. Under the golden cudgel, the weapon monster looks particularly weak. Wei Kai did not hold back at all. After finishing a series of strikes, he immediately retreated to avoid the opponent's counterattack and then bullied him again. "Big, big, big." During the charge, Wei Kai shouted 3 times in a row, and the iron rod in his hand grew 3 times, becoming a giant rod as thick as a water tank. At the same time, the properties of the golden cudgel also changed. Transformation of wishful thinking golden cudgel myth giant stick. Level 20. Physical attack power 500 to 740. Strength plus 250. Agility minus 100. Attack speed minus 20%. Critical hit rate plus 50%. Critical damage plus 100%. After equipping it, you will receive the Blessing of Myth, and all team members will increase their attributes by 10 points. When attacking, it causes crushing damage and ignores defense, block and shield. Special skill. Ruyi. After equipped, the size can be adjusted according to the owner's wishes, and the equipment attributes can be adjusted accordingly. After growing in size 3 times, Wei Kai's strength instantly increased by nearly 200 points. Then, he slammed into the weapon monster. Boom! The 200-point difference in strength made the weapon monster vulnerable. It was directly knocked away more than 10 meters and then fell heavily to the ground. Seeing this scene, Wei Kai couldn't help but smile knowingly. "Young man, you still want to compete with me in strength? The golden cudgel that can change its size at will is really useful. Every change is equivalent to a new mythical weapon, and each one fits his attributes very well. It has only grown 3 times now. If it continues to grow, its strength will increase even more." At that time, a charge could not be ignored, let alone a boss of more than 20 levels, even a boss of level 30. Of course, assuming he can hit it. Just as he was happy, the weapon monster stood up again after shaking a few times. When Wei Kai saw this, he immediately frowned. Judging from the opponent's appearance, this collision does not seem to be that lethal to it. After all, its body is made of weapons, unlike ordinary beasts. However, it still lost blood after all. As long as the health bar is still there, you are just a dish. After Wei Kai finished speaking, he raised the stick again. The huge iron rod was raised high in his hand, and then he smashed it down heavily. Boom! A huge blood-red number appeared above the weapon monster's head. -4396. Crush damage. The weapon monster fell apart under the blow, countless weapon fragments flew around, and the health bar above its head was directly reduced by half. This stick cost it half of its life. Roar! The weapon monster suddenly fell into a state of anger, roared to the sky, and then spit out something from its mouth. It was a palm-sized ring that looked like a bracelet, but it was very broken. As soon as this bracelet appeared, Wei Kai suddenly felt bad in his heart. The next moment, a huge suction force suddenly came from the hand. Wei Kaixin was frightened and took several steps back in a hurry. No, it's that ghost. Little, he shouted while retreating. In the blink of an eye, the golden cudgel returned to normal and was put back into his backpack. As soon as the weapon disappeared, the strange suction force disappeared. What a risk! He breathed a sigh of relief, but there was still lingering fear in his heart. It turns out that the bracelet is responsible for everything. Whether it sucks away weapons or turns into monsters, it is all its fault. But, how to fight now? Wei Kai suddenly felt in a dilemma. After the monster uses the bracelet, he can only fight the enemy with bare hands, otherwise the weapon will be taken away once he takes out the weapon. Without weapons, Wei Kai lost most of his combat effectiveness. Although this weapon monster is not strong, it is not easy to deal with. I wonder if the talisman will work. He had a flash of inspiration, and then took out 3 spells from his backpack. Unexpectedly, before I could use it, a familiar suction force came from my hand. Whoosh! The 3 charms were sucked away. Is this okay? Wei Kai was stunned and didn't know how to complain for a while. Is this broken bracelet really so powerful? Just when he was surprised, the weapon monster was slowly recovering. The weapons all over his body were being reorganized rapidly, and it would not take long to kill him. When Wei Kai saw this, he immediately gritted his teeth and stamped his feet. Land, come out to me. The next moment, a short figure emerged from his feet. They told you to run, why don't you run? As soon as the land came out, they started to complain. Run away, Wei Kai said angrily. I want to kill it. But I can't use weapons, what can you do? There is a way, but... Tutu hesitated. No, tell me. Wei Kai ordered loudly. Tutu hesitated for a moment, then said, the great sage once had a great magical power, called the law of heaven and earth. I see. Wei Kai suddenly woke up. That's right, so what if you don't have weapons? After the law, heaven and earth are opened, the strength of your physical body alone is enough to crush everything. But, I can't. Although he briefly experienced the magical power of Fatn Shangdi, General Beng also said that he could only experience it in Wagwo Mountain. Those, black mud, are of no use to the outside world. No. As soon as the thought came up, Wei Kai shook his head repeatedly. Black mud is useless in the outside world, but this is not the outside world. This is Qingxi Mountain. Where there is land, there are little monsters patrolling the mountain, and there are monks with hairy faces and thunderous mouths. This is also the journey to the west. After thinking about it, Wei Kai opened his backpack, took out a handful of black mud, and stuffed it into his mouth. The next moment, his body suddenly expanded and he instantly became a 10-foot-tall giant. At the same time, a familiar buff also appeared in his status bar. Dharma, heaven and earth. Incarnate into heaven and earth, your body shape will skyrocket, and your power will be endless. Ha ha ha, that's right. Although the transformation effect of Fatn Shangdi this time is not as powerful as in the Wagwo Mountain secret realm before, it only lasts for 30 seconds. But that's enough. Monster, suffer death. Wei Kai shouted loudly, reached forward with both hands at the same time, and directly grabbed the weapon monster that had just recovered. Then he tore it apart gently, and the entire monster immediately fell into pieces and turned into countless scattered weapons. And the bracelet fell into Wei Kai's hands smoothly. He squeezed hard, and the light above disappeared without a trace. Congratulations on clearing the Qingxi Mountain dungeon. Suddenly a congratulatory banner appeared in front of him, and Wei Kai suddenly grinned. It turns out that this is the real clearance. As soon as he finished speaking, the bracelet in his hand suddenly emitted a burst of golden light, startling him. This is the reward for completing the level. Mythical equipment. Wei Kai suddenly woke up, quickly picked it up, and then took a look at the attributes. Broken diamond bracelet, myth bracelet. Level 1. After wearing it, you can automatically pick up items around you. This is also called mythical equipment. After seeing the properties of the diamond bracelet, Wei Kai's eyes widened. This thing doesn't have any attributes at all, its only function is to automatically pick it up. This is too confusing. The most important thing is that it also occupies a bracelet equipment slot. Jewelry equipment is very important. If you install this, it will be like missing a piece of jewelry. This is too bad. After reading the properties of the diamond bracelet, Wei Kai suddenly felt dumbfounded. At this moment, the land suddenly came over and flapped its wings. Congratulations to the immortal for successfully conquering this thing. Do you know this thing? Wei Kai glanced at it curiously. I don't know. Tutu shook his head quickly. This thing fell from the sky. I think it should be a treasure from the sky. It is a great opportunity to get it. Hammer opportunity. Wei Kai said angrily. It's just a piece of junk. Apart from being able to pick it up automatically, it's of no use at all. How is that possible? Tutu exclaimed. This thing has obviously been transformed into a demon spirit. Not only can it transform into demons, it can also occupy mountains and practice. You mean? Wei Kai suddenly thought of something, scratched his head and said, it was beaten to death by me. Ah, Tutu was stunned for a moment and nodded silently. At this time, Wei Kai was dumbfounded. What should we do? Perhaps, the immortal can try to repair it. Tutu suggested in a low voice. Repair, yes. Wei Kai suddenly realized it and quickly asked for advice. How to repair it? Do you have any idea? Tutu thought for a while and said, those pills that I like to swallow contain a trace of chaos. You mean this? As soon as Wei Kai heard what the other party said, he immediately took out a handful of black mud from his backpack. At the beginning, I had 2 battles with night monsters outside the gate of the secret realm, and I picked up thousands of pieces of black mud like this. I used some in the secret realm and gave some to General Ba. Now only half of them are left, but there are still 500 or 600. Yes, that's it. Tutu said slightly excitedly. Then I'll try, Wei Kai said, tentatively putting the black mud on the bracelet. The next moment, a burst of golden light burst out from the bracelet, and then the black mud disappeared in a flash. Swallowed. Wei Kai was slightly startled and quickly went to check the properties of the diamond bracelet and found that there was an additional explanation on it. Repairable. Repair progress. 36 10,000ths. It actually can be repaired. Wei Kai was immediately overjoyed and said repeatedly, okay, this thing is indeed a good thing. He also didn't expect that a mere black mud would be so effective. Not only can you obtain the great magical powers of the heaven and earth in Journey to the West, but you can also use them to repair damaged mythical equipment. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have sent him out. However, I've already given them away, so I'll have to buy some more at the worst. Anyway, the monsters in the night will definitely drop this, so it is not difficult to get 10,000 of them. Shangxian, how is the effect? At this moment, Tutu asked with a smile. Very good, thank you for the reminder. Wei Kai responded with the same smile, and then asked curiously, I have taken away the monsters here, will there be changes here? It's natural, Tutu nodded and said. Without the monsters, the old man can return to the cave. From now on, there will no longer be monsters here. Ah, Wei Kai was stunned for a moment and thought to himself, does this mean that this place will no longer be a dungeon? But then I thought about it, and it seemed like there was no problem. The monsters are all gone, so of course it doesn't count as a copy. So what will it become? Then can I still come in the future? Wei Kai asked curiously. If the immortal wants to come, I will naturally welcome you. 2D fluttered his wings and said, it's just that there are no rare treasures here, and there is no aura. There are only a few scenery that can be seen. If the immortal comes in, there will only be scenery to see. You can only look at the scenery. Wei Kai was a little disappointed. He thought this place could turn into some kind of paradise. But if you think about it carefully, if it was the cave heaven paradise, how could it have fallen to this level? Forget it then. Wei Kai waved his hand and said, I still have some things to do in the outside world, so I left first. Congratulations to the immortal. The land quickly bowed. After a while, Wei Kai's figure completely disappeared, leaving only the land god with a smile on his face. At the same time, the copy was on the central square. Wei Kai's figure gradually appeared, and he already had the bracelet on his hand. Oh, little brother. At this moment, a familiar voice sounded in my ears. It was the uncle from before. Are you still brushing copies? Yes. Wei Kai opened his eyes, nodded with a smile and said, Uncle, are you brushing too? No. The uncle laughed and said, I just came back from fishing. Fishing. Wei Kai was stunned when he heard this. Fishing in the dungeon. Yes. The uncle laughed and said, there is a copy called Ling Chang, do you know? There are a lot of fish there, and many people are fishing in it. But, isn't it true that the copy won't be released until the level is cleared? No, that copy can leave whenever it wants. The uncle shook his head. That's it, I've learned a lot. Wei Kai couldn't help but sigh. He didn't expect there to be such a weird copy. Of course, the weirder thing is the fishing guy. They were able to think of things like fishing in the dungeon, which I really have to admire. However, he does not have the leisure, nor does he have the time. Uncle, I have something else to do, so I'll leave first. Wei Kai waved his hand and quickly left the central square of the copy. On the way back, he began to think about his next trip. It was already 4:30 in the afternoon, and there were still 2 hours before dark. Although the Qingxi Mountain copy took nearly a day, the result was still worth it. Although the current diamond bracelet is in bad condition, Wei Kai is full of confidence in it now that there is hope of repairing it. If this thing can be repaired, it will definitely be a genuine mythical equipment. In addition, its automatic picking function is also very interesting. After putting on the bracelet, Wei Kai discovered that it could actually set some automatic pickup functions. For example, full pickup and partial pickup. Pick them all up, no need to say more. Partial pickup is the key feature. After setting up partial pickup, it can actually choose to only pick up certain items, or items of a certain level. For example, Wei Kai has now set it up to only pick up items above the legendary level. In this way, it will ignore the blue, white, and purple equipment that fell on the ground, and will exclusively pick up equipment above the legendary level. It is not yet known whether its automatic pickup function can be silent. If it is really possible, maybe you won't have to worry about being exposed in front of others in the future. Thinking of this, Wei Kai couldn't help but get excited. Try to leave the city now. 20 minutes later, Wei Kai came to the wild boar forest again. It was already 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and there was still an hour and a half before dark. Many people are busy grinding monsters and leveling up, trying to make the most of their last bit of time. Wei Kai glanced around and walked silently deep into the forest. At this time, it may not be easy to find a pure place. But fortunately, the wild boar forest is large enough, and the monsters deep in the forest are also quite powerful. Most people would not dare to come here easily. Wei Kai is naturally not an ordinary person, he is already level 20. The highest level of ordinary monsters in the wild boar forest is only level 12, and they are tigers that like to be alone. Monsters of this level no longer pose a threat to him. Even elite monsters and even ordinary bosses are just a piece of cake. The only thing that can keep him prepared is probably the level 25 regional boss White Tiger. During the process of advancing, Wei Kai kept resisting the urge to take action, but was stunned that he didn't kill a single monster. It wasn't until 10 minutes later that he finally felt relieved when he came to a quiet place with no outsiders. Roar. The roar of the tiger imitated by the provocation skill shocked half of the forest, causing countless birds to startle. The next moment, several roars came. 3 tigers suddenly rushed out from all directions. When Wei Kai saw this, he was not surprised but overjoyed, and laughed and said, "You've come just in time. I have been leveling up in the wild boar forest before. I have killed so many wild boars and wild wolves, and I have also seen monkeys fighting, but I have not encountered many tigers. The only time was the regional boss White Tiger. It's a pity that under the siege of the tiger fighting group, the majestic White Tiger also appeared weak, pitiful and helpless, and was no match for a group of people. In comparison, the 3 tigers besieging him in front of him looked more regal. However, this kingly demeanor only lasted less than 3 seconds. Before Wei Kai finished speaking, the golden cudgel had already taken action and swept away with a whirlwind strike. The next second, all 3 tigers were hit on the head and fell to the ground. Then it turned into 3 white lights and disappeared. Hey, why is there only blue sky and white clouds? With the talent of all items dropped, the 3 tigers also exploded equipment and materials all over the place. But the strange thing is that there are only blue and white items. Not to mention pink outfits, not even purple outfits. It's not in the backpack, is it? Wei Kai suddenly thought of it, and then he quickly opened his backpack and took a look, and he was overjoyed. It's indeed inside. At this time, there was a piece of pink equipment in the backpack. Tiger gloves, legendary gloves. Level 15. Physical attack power 130 to 201. Strength plus 20. Agility plus 30. When attacking, there is a chance of causing a tearing effect, causing the enemy to bleed for 5 seconds. The attributes of the equipment are average, the effect is not very powerful, and even the occupation is wrong. But that doesn't stop Wei Keixin from being happy. He clearly remembered that he did not see the pink light burst out just now. In other words, the diamond bracelet really picks up automatically and silently. As long as it is set to automatically pick up something, it can directly suck it away without even the light of exploding equipment. Outsiders were completely unaware and had no idea what was happening. With this, Wei Kai will be able to kill monsters openly and openly in front of outsiders. As long as the settings are properly set up, his explosion rate will be normal in front of outsiders. You can even make it a little unusual on purpose. You can do whatever you want and adjust it however you want. It is indeed a mythical piece of equipment. This function alone is worth it. Wei Kai was filled with emotion for a moment. However, if this thing falls into the hands of someone with evil intentions, it may be a big problem. After all, this thing is not very easy to use as a black equipment for forming a team. Thinking of this, Wei Kai felt happy again. From what Qingxi Mountain Land said, it seems that there is only one of them. After he cleared the Qingxi Mountain dungeon, the monsters inside had completely disappeared and turned into a small dungeon with only scenery. It is already impossible to brush another one. That's a good thing. Wei Kai was in a good mood and directly set the automatic pickup function of the diamond bracelet to pick up all. Then the process of frantically spawning monsters began. First, use the provocation skill to imitate the roar of a tiger, attracting several tigers to attack together. Then he took out the golden cudgel and killed him instantly with one move of whirlwind slash. Then the diamond bracelet showed its power and swept away all the dropped items. The whole process is so smooth that you don't even need to stop. In the next hour, Wei Kai felt completely refreshed. However, to outsiders, his behavior seemed like he was crazy. In the jungle not far away, a team of 3 people had been watching for nearly half an hour. As a result, everyone was dumbfounded. Holy crap, this guy has already groomed more than 30 tigers, right? He didn't even lose a single hair. A bald strong man touched his head, his face full of surprise. This is too dark, I'm embarrassed. Another red-haired team member next to him nodded in agreement. The 5-star locust Mike Xiaochuan said, if I were to compete with him on shamelessness, I would definitely win, but if I compete with him on shamelessness, I would lose miserably. The leader, who was wearing a leather jacket and leather trousers, said quietly. PFF'd. The bald man couldn't help but feel happy, and said again, this guy has been brushing hard and never stopped. I'm afraid he has been driven crazy by the incredible explosion rate. Captain, how about we go and persuade him? Don't be troublesome. The leather-clad leader shook his head. We are here to squat against the white tiger. The more he kills, the more he will attract the white tiger's attention. Maybe. Coming. Before the group leader finished speaking, the bald man next to him shouted loudly. On the other side, Wei Kai was still immersed in the fun of spawning monsters and exploding equipment, when a strong fishy wind suddenly came. Then an alarm bell rang in his heart, and he quickly raised his head and looked ahead. Roar! A thundering roar sounded. A giant beast with black and white hair and a height of 3 meters walked towards him. Regional boss White Tiger. Wei Kai was immediately overjoyed. He didn't expect to be so lucky and happened to encounter White Tiger refreshing here. This is a great opportunity. His first mission happened to require White Tiger's special drop, White Tiger's heart. As long as this White Tiger is killed, everything will be fine. There's even mythical gear. Thinking of this, Wei Kai's gaze towards Bai, who immediately became intense. Don't be afraid, little brother, we are coming. At this moment, a shout suddenly came from the jungle not far away, and Wei Kai was stunned for a moment. Then I turned around and saw that 3 people had emerged from there, and one of them was sending a signal to contact the others. Are you guys Tiger Fighting Group? Why is it you again? When he heard the name of the Tiger Fighting Group, Wei Kai suddenly wanted to curse. He was obviously the one who discovered the White Tiger first, but the people from the Tiger Hunting Group were also squatting there. From the looks of them, it seemed that they were determined to win this boss and already regarded it as their own. I'm not afraid, Wei Kai couldn't help but reply. That's good. The leader of the leather-clad group smiled and said, then find a place to hide first, and then you can come out after we finish killing the boss. What's the meaning? This is to grab the boss from me. Wei Kai suddenly frowned. I discovered this boss. Brother, don't be kidding. The big bald man touched his bald head and said with disdain, even if I give up this White Tiger to you, you won't be able to defeat it, and your life will be in vain. Yes, we are not trying to steal your boss, we are trying to save you. Another red-haired man also agreed. Oh, Wei Kai smiled slightly and suddenly asked, how about letting me join you? Do you want to form a team with us? The leather-clad leader asked. Yeah, it's okay to form a team, right? Wei Kai continued to ask. No, the bald man was the first to object. Our team all has fixed positions. If we add people rashly, what's the use besides causing chaos? The red-haired man also said, even if we form a team, you won't have any share in what comes out. After hearing what these 2 people said, Wei Kai suddenly felt unhappy. At this moment, the leader in leather clothes nodded. You can form a team, you have to pay extra. As a battle group that specializes in killing bosses, the Tiger Fighting Group has also served as thugs. The boss pays, and the rest of the group contributes, accompanying the boss to fight bosses. There is no shame in being a thug, and many members are even happy to do so. After all, the boss is really rich, and as long as he has fun, he can casually give away hundreds of thousands. Now that Wei Kai wants to form a team, logically he shouldn't agree. But if you give money, it's different. Wei Kai was stunned when he heard this, but quickly asked, how much? 500,000. The group leader said, if you want the explosive equipment, you have to pay extra for the auction. In other words, I spent 500,000 just to form a team with you. Wei Kai almost laughed angrily. You can get the experience of the boss, and you can also experience the fun of fighting the boss yourself. The bald man interjected. Okay, I'll add another piece of legendary equipment, and you want me to kill the boss. Wei Kai bargained immediately. The leather-clad leader shook his head. A piece of legendary equipment only costs 100,000 yuan, which is not enough. Then change to epic equipment. I just want the final kill of the boss. Wei Kai continued to add more money. As long as he can deliver the final blow, not to mention epic equipment, even mythical equipment is no problem. It's just that he doesn't want to take advantage of these people. Good. Upon hearing that there was epic level equipment, the leather-clad leader's eyes suddenly lit up. For them, ordinary legendary equipment is naturally looked down upon, but higher level epic equipment is different. Most people in the war group still lack useful epic equipment. Even if no one needs it, it can be sold for a good price if it is taken back to the city and auctioned. With 500,000 yuan and an epic piece of equipment, you can still make money even if nothing is exploded in the boss fight this time. If the opponent is lucky, he might even be able to explode mythical equipment. That's blood money. Then let's form a team. Wei Kai urged. Pay a deposit of 500,000 first. Good. After the transaction was completed, the leader of the leather outfit immediately sent an invitation to form a team. Wei Kai chose to confirm. After entering the team, Wei Kai heard an angry tiger roar from behind before he could check everyone's information. Ho ho ho! The white tiger roared in anger, seeming to be very annoyed that everyone was ignoring it. It was clearly 4 ants, but they dared to bargain in front of it, as if it didn't exist. Dare to ignore me. You have to pay the price. After roaring, it rushed towards the 4 of them, moving extremely fast and violently. But at this moment, a golden light fell from the sky. Certainly, a young man dressed as a Taoist priest rushed over from outside, with more people behind him. At this moment, the members of the tiger fighting group finally arrived. Seeing the team members arriving, the leader in leather clothes also became excited and laughed loudly. Hurry up and call it a day. Yes, leader. The members who arrived responded with smiles. To them, the white tiger in front of them is just a large cat, and they can kill it however they want. Not afraid at all. The only thing you need to pay attention to is who will do the final kill, because this may affect the explosion rate. Although it is a bit metaphysical, everyone believes in this. Following the commander's order, the members of the tiger fighting group immediately took action, and everyone carried out the command in an orderly manner. A formation was quickly formed, surrounding the white tiger, and began to attack at the same time. Upon seeing this, Wei Kai put away his weapon, crossed his arms, and prepared to watch the show. Captain, who is this person? Wei Kai's behavior was a bit arrogant, and soon members of the group discovered his presence. A stupid, boss who killed the boss. The leather-clad leader quickly explained. The boss who killed the boss. All the members looked at each other. Well, just wait for the final blow to kill the boss and give it to him. The team leader continued to explain. Other procedures remain as usual. Is it okay? The final blow also depends on the timing. Someone questioned. The leader waved his hand. It's okay. He's already level 20. His output shouldn't be bad. Just don't get close to him early and don't get killed by the boss. I'm the boss. The bald man also laughed and said, 500,000 yuan plus an epic piece of equipment, just for this final blow. Of course, the boss must be satisfied, right? After speaking, he looked at Wei Kai who was watching the show. Wei laughed and said nothing about this. When the other members heard this condition, they immediately stopped talking. I have no choice but to give too much. Such a big effort, just to look cool in the final kill. Rich people really have a good time. But what if he is very dark? At this moment, a weak voice asked. No matter how dark I am, can I be darker than you? The bald man was furious when he heard this. Last time, the last blow you made exploded a guaranteed pink outfit. Do you think there is anyone who can be darker than you? That was temporary. The man retorted dissatisfied. You weren't much better last time. Baldhead continued to reply. Don't make any noise. At this moment, the group leader made the final decision. I have agreed to this, and I must keep my word. As soon as these words came out, the team members immediately became quiet and began to concentrate on killing monsters. The members of the tiger fighting group are basically above level 25, and a few elites have even reached level 35. They are well equipped, cooperate with each other tacitly, and are extremely proficient in the process of fighting bosses. Dozens of people besieged the boss together, and even the white tiger had to turn into a kitten. In less than 10 minutes, the white tiger entered a violent state, with bursts of black and white aura coming out of his body. Upon seeing this, the commander in the team immediately shouted an order. Full warrior, charge, everyone, interrupt skill preparation. Auxiliary buff. 1, 2, 3, bump. As soon as he finished speaking, the white tiger staggered, and then various interrupting skills fell on its head like rain, quickly consuming all the black and white energy. Afterwards, Baihu entered a weak state. Start outputting at full power. The commander ordered loudly. At this moment, the group leader suddenly interrupted. Watch it, don't beat him to death. The last blow should be reserved for the boss. Boss, please keep an eye on it and prepare to hit the target. No problem. Wei Kai smiled and nodded. Regarding last hitting, he was very confident. Although his level is not as good as the members of the tiger fighting team, his equipment is much better than theirs, and his attributes are far ahead. While watching the game just now, he mentally calculated the output of his team members and found that many of them were inferior to him. The damage per second of most output team members is around 1000, which means they can deal 1000 points of damage in 1 second. And if he outputs at full strength, he can deal at least 2000 points of damage per second. If you are lucky, the internal injury effect of the golden cudgel is triggered, and the damage is almost 3000 seconds. After the group leader said hello, the output of the group members did not decrease, but instead worked harder. Soon, the white tiger's health dropped to 5%. When many people saw this, they quickly stopped and asked Wei Kai to go forward and finish the attack. But there were two people who not only did not stop, but actually increased their output. When the group leader saw this, he shouted loudly to stop. Bald head, why are you so violent? Captain, I pressed the wrong button. I can't stop, I really can't stop. The bald man argued loudly. The team leader was stunned for a moment, and then looked at the other person. Little Heitzi, you didn't do anything just now, why are you trying to take damage now, right? Captain, I am really not a little black guy. Another guy who didn't stop also took the opportunity to say. You. The group leader was immediately furious and looked at Wei Kai quickly. However, Wei Kai was not angry at all, but smiled. You want to steal the last blow from me, right? Are you deliberately disgusting me? If the last blow was robbed, these people would naturally have excuses to evade, but his 500,000 yuan and an epic piece of equipment would definitely have been wasted. As soon as Wei Kai saw their performance, he knew what these people were thinking. However, he is not worried at all. Compared with output, who is afraid of whom? Serial strike, he shouted and rushed forward. Then he held the golden hoop in his hand and moved it like the wind. The shadow of the stick continued to hit the white tiger. -506, -716, -1003, internal injury, -2391. In less than 3 seconds, 7 numbers appeared on Baihu's head one after another, and the remaining 5% of his health disappeared in an instant. Performed a health bar disappearing technique for everyone on the spot. This scene stunned everyone present. Especially the big bald man and the little black man who wanted to take the last blow were stunned. Compared to Wei Kai's output just now, their output is pitifully small. Not to mention grabbing the final blow, he didn't even have time to use his skills, so he just watched Baihu being killed. The group leader was also stunned. He didn't expect that a boss who paid for the experience could be so powerful. This output, even in a tiger fighting group, is at the top level. The equipment exploded. At this moment, a team member suddenly shouted. Bang! When everyone heard the words and looked around, they saw several pink rays of light rising into the sky, followed by hundreds of white, blue, and purple rays of light. Baihu exploded so hard that hundreds of items exploded at once, making everyone present dumbfounded. Some people couldn't help but explode on the spot. So many pink outfits. I wonder, what kind of bad luck is this? You actually exploded so much at once. I have never seen such explosive equipment in my life. The leather-clad leader himself was completely dumbfounded. He originally thought that there would be nothing gained after giving this last blow to someone else, but he didn't expect that this person's luck would be so incredible. This explosion was more equipment than they had obtained in the previous half-month. Boss, awesome. He couldn't help but give a thumbs up to Wei Kai. So. Wei Kai smiled slightly. Humble. The group leader laughed and joked. At least he's better than Xiao Haitzi. Ha ha ha, I think so too. The big bald man joked. That's right. Other team members also joked. If I let Xiao Haitzi do the killing, maybe it will be a guarantee. Boss, you are quite a nice person. Boss, why don't you join our group? From now on, you will be responsible for killing the boss. Yes, I will share one with you later. Everyone talked a lot, but Wei Kai remained unmoved. Seeing this, the group leader waved his hand quickly and said, Quick, pick up all the things. We'll talk about it after we return to the city. In addition, Baldhead and Xiao Haitzi disobey orders and cannot participate in this dividend distribution, as a warning to others. When the big bald man and the little black man heard this, their expressions suddenly turned ugly. But the other members of the group didn't care, and instead started cheering loudly. Good. Yeah. After a while, when they saw those pink-clad properties, each one was even more happy than the other. There are 6 pieces of these legendary equipment, and they are all level 30. Most members can use it. Not only that, among the other dropped items, there are actually recipes and precious materials such as tiger bones and tiger whips. This time I really found a treasure. Wei Kai is actually happier than them. Because there are 5 more items in his backpack, including 1 mythical piece of equipment, 3 pieces of epic level equipment, and the heart of the white tiger that he wants most. These things had been quietly picked up by the diamond bracelet long before they were revealed. I have to say, the automatic pickup function of the diamond bracelet. That's awesome. He took a look at the attributes of the 3 epic pieces of equipment and was slightly shocked. Covering the moon epic helmet. Level 20. Magic plus 40. Constitution plus 20. Abnormal status hit plus 20. Abnormal status resistance plus 20. When equipped, it will gain the moon shielding state, and each attack has a chance of causing the enemy to fall into fear. Against fearful enemies, damage is increased by 20%. One of the Luo Shen suits, you can get powerful effects when collected together. It turns out to be a part of the Luo Shen suit. Wei Keixin was so happy that he put on this moon shielding helmet directly. At the same time, he also took off the epic helmet he originally wore. Captain, this is what we promised before. Oh, the boss is so polite. The group leader smiled broadly and reached out to get it. Hey, wait a minute. Wei Kai suddenly took it back, and then sneered. The matter of some people rushing to kill, won't it end like this, right? Apologize. The leader's face changed, and he suddenly said loudly, Bald, little Haitzi, you two come over and apologize to the boss. As soon as these words came out, everyone looked over and saw the red epic level equipment in Wei Kai's hand. Now, everyone understood what was going on. Apologize to the boss quickly. Then someone started cheering loudly. The others also spoke one after another. That's it. Go and apologize to the boss, don't make the boss unhappy. Xiao Haitzi, you are the only one who is disobedient, go away quickly. Sorry. The bald man walked over first and bowed to Wei Kai. Wei Kai nodded lightly, expressing his attitude. However, that little Haitzi remained unmoved. No matter how others made noises, he would not move. At this time, the head of the group lost his face. Xiao Haitzi, you don't want to mess around anymore, do you? He said sternly. Captain, I didn't mean it, I just wanted to make a joke. Xiao Haitzi retorted weakly. The leader's face suddenly became ugly and he shouted again. If you don't understand what people are saying, get out. As soon as these words came out, everyone immediately felt his anger. I apologize. As soon as the leader finished speaking, Xiao Haitzi immediately ran up to Wei Kai smoothly, bowed to him and apologized, without any intention of being sloppy. Seeing this scene, Wei Kai smiled happily. Sure enough, some people are just mean. After laughing, he took out the epic helmet again. Captain, this is what we agreed on before. That's easy to say. Thanks to you, so many pink outfits exploded in one go. Everyone is grateful to you. The leader's face immediately turned from gloomy to clear. He took the epic helmet with a smile, and then put it in his bag. You are welcome. Wei Kai smiled lightly and said, as long as everyone is happy. Haha, just be happy. The group leader also followed silly. After the small interlude, everyone got busy again. The boss is killed. The equipment exploded. The task is also completed. As a result, everyone in the tiger fighting group packed their things and prepared to return to the city. Wei Kai glanced at his phone and found that the time had reached 6:05, with 25 minutes left before dark. He thought about it and finally decided to return to the city with the tiger fighting group. The wilderness at night is not an ordinary danger. Those night monsters can certainly explode good things like black mud, but who knows if there might be a big boss hidden behind them. The big-mouthed monster from last time was still fresh in his memory. If the experts from the Security Bureau hadn't come forward to solve the problem, I'm afraid the entire Yongning city would have suffered as a result. It's better to wait until you have the strength to brush the black mud. He hasn't even completed his first mission yet, and his strength is far from reaching its peak. Just as he was thinking about it, the leader of the leather-clad group who was walking side by side with him suddenly came over. Boss, what do you call me? Wei Kai. My name is Liang Hu. The leader of the leather-clad group introduced himself. Wei Kai nodded. Hello, Captain Liang, what can I do? Captain Liang paused and said, when we formed the team just now, I saw that you were already level 20, but you were still a warrior. Then your first mission must not be completed yet, right? Yeah, we're doing it. If you need anything, just contact us. Captain Liang patted his chest and said, I guarantee that you can complete the mission easily. If it's a collection mission, that would be even better. The tiger fighting group doesn't have many other things, and there are definitely enough precious materials. Even if you don't have it now, we can still get it for you, as long as you make a reservation with us. Really? Wei Kai asked curiously. Real. Captain Liang was very sure. Let me tell you, there used to be a guy whose job transfer mission required him to collect peacock feathers, dire wolf fangs and giant crocodile scales. You know, these 3 things are all bosses. Only special materials can be produced. Ah, indeed. Wei Kai nodded in astonishment. Captain Liang was very satisfied with his reaction and continued. This kind of precious material is definitely not available to ordinary people, but he found us. Although he spent a little more money, he still completed the task successfully. What happened next? Wei Kai asked quickly. What happened next? The one who does the task. Captain Liang scratched his head. I heard that he failed in the second step because the task was too difficult. Ah, Wei Kai was a little surprised. He didn't expect that the job transfer task would fail. The difficulty of this task was too high. However, this is not the point. The point is, that person's mission was to get 3 items. Although Wei Kai's mission requirements were similar to that of that person, he only required 1 of them. Can we hand in all 3 items at the same time? Suddenly he had a flash of inspiration and had some ideas in his mind. Is it because the 3 items were handed in together that the difficulty of the task was increased? As the task difficulty increases, the corresponding rewards will naturally increase. Could it be that after completing a job transfer mission of this difficulty, you will be transferred to a more powerful rare job? Maybe this is really possible. It's a pity that the man failed in the second step. Maybe I can try it too. Wei Kai suddenly had an idea in his mind. If I ask Captain Liang for help, will it be the same as before? He suddenly asked. No. Captain Liang shook his head. If you need to specify materials, you will have to pay extra. Why? Wei Kai frowned. Special materials are not so easy to explode. Captain Liang explained. If it doesn't work once, you have to try it a second time. If you are too unlucky, you may not be able to explode it 10 times. The last time they brushed materials for that guy, they encountered this problem. I brushed the armored giant crocodile 5 times in a row before I brushed out the scales of the giant crocodile. For this, countless efforts and half a month were spent. Thinking about this kind of thing makes you lose your blood. Just do it once. If you do it again, no one else in the group will do it. Forget it then. Wei Kai shook his head decisively. Asking them to kill the white tiger has already made enough money for the tiger hunting group. Not only did he get 6 pieces of level 30 legendary equipment, he also gave him 500,000 in cash, as well as an epic piece of equipment. There are also some recipes, rare materials and other messy things. The total sum of these things is worth at least more than 2 million. This money is enough to invite the most powerful fighting group in Yongning City. The reason why he was willing to give it was because the tiger fighting group saved him last time. Now that the transaction is completed, this cause and effect can be regarded as paid off. I heard the word, forget it. Liang Hu was stunned for a moment, and then felt a little unhappy. Why do you dare to reject me? Obviously I just said it well, but suddenly I didn't want it. It must be too expensive. You think it's expensive, but I still think it's expensive. Forget it then. Liang Hu immediately waved his hand and walked away without looking back. Seeing this situation, other members of the surrounding group also stayed away, for fear of getting stuck on something. When Wei Kai saw this, he suddenly sneered. However, he didn't pay too much attention. Although Yongning City is small, there are many battle groups that can lead bosses. With those 2 million, wouldn't it be better to directly invite the number 1 battle group in Yongning City? And he doesn't want to continue to cooperate with the tiger fighting group. If the explosion rate is high once, it may be due to good luck. If the explosion rate is so high every time, there must be something wrong. Even if you can use the automatic pickup function of the diamond bracelet to cover it up, there will still be some trouble. It's better to just replace someone and cooperate. Just as he was thinking about it, he suddenly found that the members of the tiger fighting group had sped up and had left him behind. Wei Kai was about to catch up when he suddenly heard a voice coming from the side. Squeak. He followed the sound and found that it was a monkey, which looked somewhat familiar. It's that old monkey. No, it's General Bang. Wei Kai quickly remembered. Isn't this the old monkey who competed with the python and the wolf king for the red fruit before? And its true identity should be General Bang, who escaped from the secret realm of Wabwo Mountain. General Bang's skills were much more flexible than before, but he didn't have a stick in his hand. Instead, he shouted and waved to him. It seems to be calling for something. Are you calling me? Wei Kai was stunned for a moment and asked subconsciously. Squeak. General Bang nodded excitedly. Seeing the other party's reaction, Wei Kai was stunned again and became even more curious. What are you going to do? However, General Bang did not answer, but kept waving, as if he wanted him to stop. No. Wei Kai shook his head repeatedly and even quickened his pace. It's going to be dark soon, I have to go back. Last time, I lost track of time because I watched General Bang fight with the python and the wolf king. This time, he will not be stupid again no matter what. Squeak. Seeing him quicken his pace, General Bang suddenly became anxious and even wanted to rush over. However, before it could make up its mind, Wei Kai had already walked out of the dense forest and arrived at the outskirts of the wild boar forest. Here are all people preparing to return to the city. Seeing so many people, General Bang immediately panicked. After shouting several times, he quickly retreated into the dense forest. Isn't this guy crazy? Wei Kai looked a little confused, but considering that it was getting dark, he still didn't stop. A few minutes later, he finally walked into the city gate. At this time, it happened to be 6:27. After a while, night fell, and darkness followed, swallowing up the last trace of light at an extremely fast speed. At this moment, a dim light mask also lit up. Looking at the light mask behind him, Wei Kai couldn't help but stand in awe. This is the defensive formation that Captain Wu mentioned. It is the defensive array that protects Yongning City and the millions of people in the city. Without it, most humans would probably be extinct. It's a pity that 18 years have passed and human beings have not yet stepped out of the defensive array. Every night, he can only hide in the defensive circle. I don't know how long these days will last. Boom. When the door of the East City Gate suddenly closed, Wei Kai's thoughts were brought back to reality. Yes, let's do our best first. He laughed at himself and got on the bus bound for Shixiang District. Being bored in the car, Wei Kai took the opportunity to check out the mythical equipment he had just received. White Tiger Divine Ring, Mythical Level Ring. Level 20. Strength plus 50. Agility plus 50. Attack speed plus 20%. After equipping it, you will receive the Blessing of Myth, and all team members will increase their attributes by 10 points. When attacking, there is a chance of causing a tearing effect, causing the enemy to enter a bleeding state, which lasts for 30 seconds and can be superimposed. When equipped, if the number of consecutive hits reaches 7, it will enter a focused state, increasing the critical hit rate by 10% and the critical hit damage by 20%. When the number of consecutive hits reaches 14, it will enter a rapid state and increase the attack speed by 20%. When the number of consecutive hits reaches 21, you will enter the God of War state, gain a super body effect, and be immune to all damage and control effects for 5 seconds. The 3 states can be superimposed. Holy shit, it's so fierce. Wei Kai couldn't help exclaiming. This White Tiger Divine Ring not only has powerful attributes, but its entries are also quite perfect. Just don't be too aggressive. After the number of consecutive hits reaches 7, the critical hit rate and critical hit damage will be immediately increased. The most important thing is that this condition is not difficult to achieve at all, just 1 consecutive hit is enough. After the number of consecutive hits reaches 14, the attack speed can be further increased. If the number of consecutive hits can reach 21, the effect will be even more explosive. A state of dominance that is immune to all control and damage. 2 words, invincible. As soon as he put the ring on, he saw a bald head suddenly appear on the seat in front of him. What's so fierce? Wei Kai was startled, and then he saw clearly that it was the bald man from the tiger fighting group. He didn't expect that the other party would take the initiative to talk to him. Nothing. Wei Kai quickly waved his hand and said, I just remembered the scene of fighting the boss just now. Are you talking about me? The big bald man said cheerfully, but you are also very fierce. In the last blow, you directly hit thousands of output, which is already on par with me. Quote. Wei Kai was speechless for a moment. I have seen shameless people, but I have never seen such shameless people. You don't really think someone is complimenting you, do you? He wanted to complain to his face, but because of his face, he held back. Unexpectedly, the big bald man didn't show off at all, but started boasting about himself. Let me tell you, a boss of Bai whose level is nothing at all. For our tiger hunting group, it is just a kitten that can be killed as soon as it is refreshed. The truly powerful boss is the regional boss in Liang Ancient City, which is level 40. Most people don't even dare to touch it, and only our tiger fighting group dares to challenge. Have you been beaten? Wei Kai couldn't help but ask. Never fought. The big bald head touched his bald head and said sheepishly, but the senior masters in the group have fought it, and it is said that a lot of good things have been revealed, including a level 40 warrior ultimate move and a level 40 mythical equipment. Quote. What are the attributes of mythical equipment? Wei Kai asked again. It must be awesome anyway, said the bald man. As soon as Wei Kai heard his tone, he knew that the other party must have never seen mythical equipment, and he didn't even know the blessing of mythology unique to mythical equipment. Since it's just bragging, there's nothing to argue with. 15 minutes later, the bus stopped at Shixiang Market Station. Wei Kai also got out of the car smoothly and went straight to his store in the market. Since I didn't get anything good in the past 2 days, the store's goods were basically sold out, leaving Tian Xiaoling alone in the store. Seeing Wei Kai entering the store, she immediately smiled and hurriedly greeted him. Kai, you're back. Yeah, Wei Kai nodded with a smile, and then took out a backpack. Sister Ling, this is today's goods. Didn't you go study the copy today? Tian Xiaoling was a little surprised. She originally thought that Wei Kai had been studying the broken copy today and could not gain anything. I didn't expect that I could still get equipment. The copy has been cleared, Wei Kai said. Real. Tian Xiaoling's face was full of surprise, and she quickly came over and asked in a low voice, did you get that? Let me see. After saying that, she felt something was inappropriate and quickly made up for it. Well, I mean, did you get what you wanted? Did our 1 million go to waste? If you feel something is wrong, just nod, you don't have to say it. It doesn't matter. Wei Kai smiled slightly, raised his wrist and said, that's the bracelet. Is this a bracelet? Tian Xiaoling looked at the tattered bracelet on his hand and was stunned. The news of buying it for 1 million is just to get this tattered bracelet. Yes, Wei Kai nodded and explained. Despite its shabby appearance, it is actually of high grade and very powerful. What level? Is it epic level? Tian Xiaoling asked subconsciously. Wei Kai smiled slightly. It's low. Tian Xiaoling raised her head suddenly, glanced at Wei Kai's expression, and realized that he didn't seem to be joking. After a moment, she suddenly realized something and quickly covered her mouth. Forget it, I won't guess anymore. After saying this, she thought of the other side and asked hurriedly, what should I do over there at Duobao Pavilion? I still have a lot of junk here. Wei Kai laughed and said, when they ask about it, you can just name it. The copy of Qingxi Mountain has been cleared by him. People from Duobao Pavilion can find out quickly as long as they are willing to investigate. However, they don't know what the reward for clearing the level is. As long as Wei Kai insists that the reward is a piece of rags, there is nothing Duobao Pavilion can do against him. Then let's take this weapon. Tian Xiaoling soon found a purple rare weapon in her backpack. Well, as long as we have the same voice, that will be enough. Wei Kai nodded. After saying this, Tian Xiaoling continued to look through her backpack, but as she looked at it, her face suddenly turned red. Where have you been today? Why did you find so many inappropriate things? What's not serious? Wei Kai was stunned when he heard this, and then suddenly remembered. What the other party was talking about should be the Tiger Whip wine formula dropped by the tiger, as well as Tiger Bones and Tiger Whip. Well, they are dropped by tigers. They are all good things. Since it's a good thing, why don't you keep it for yourself? Tian Xiaoling looked at him directly. Quote. Wei Kai suddenly felt a wave of emotion, and suddenly smiled. I'm still young, I don't need these. Pooh. Tian Xiaoling spat lightly. Casually, she sorted out these things again and explained. Keep these good things, I will find a seller for you. Hey, I thought it was left for me. Wei made a joke. Tisk, didn't you say you don't need it? Tian Xiaoling rolled her eyes at him. You can use it as a gift. Wei Kai smiled and said, I think, our captain needs it. As soon as these words came out, Wu Qiliang, who had just returned to his residence from get off work, sneezed suddenly. Ah gee, who said bad things about me behind my back again? That's right. Tian Xiaoling thought for a while and said, let's just make it ourselves and keep it for future gifts or sell it. It's much better than selling the materials directly. You know how to do business. Wei Kai gave a thumbs up. Cut. Tian Xiaoling rolled her eyes at him again. As the daughter of a businessman, she has been working in various shops and trading houses since she was a child. After graduation, she directly entered the official trading house. Now I have opened a small shop, doing everything by myself, down to the smallest detail. How could you not understand this? But how do you make this thing? Wei Kai looked at the recipe for tiger whip wine and didn't know how to start. A chef can make it. Tian Xiaoling replied. This is just like a recipe, it is a cook's skill book. That's it. Wei Kai suddenly understood that since the chef could cook it, he could give it to Yi. Then leave it to me, I'll find someone. Okay. Tian Xiaoling agreed immediately. After talking about the business, the items in the backpack were sorted, and then Tian Xiaoling packed them all on the shelves and put them on the counter. After doing this, she breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you for your hard work, Sister Ling. Seeing this, Wei Kai quickly said thank you. This is nothing. Tian Xiaoling smiled, suddenly remembered something, and said quickly, by the way, I will give you some good things. What? Wei Kai looked over quickly. Enchanting talisman. Tian Xiaoling said, taking out a stack of talismans from her backpack. At first glance, they were quite similar to those in Taoist temples. Enchanted. Wei Kai was stunned for a moment, and then he remembered that Sister Ling seemed to be an enchanter. She should have done this herself. I made it myself. Tian Xiaoling smiled and said expectantly, hurry up and try to see if it works. How to use it? Wei Kai took it confusedly. Just use it according to the corresponding equipment part. Tian Xiaoling reminded. Oh, after she said this, Wei Kai discovered that the enchantment talisman on his hand corresponded to the glove. So, he patted the gloves directly on his body. The next moment, there was an additional attribute under the attribute column of the glove. Shifeng Epic Level Gloves. Level 20. Strength plus 20. Agility plus 20. Attack speed plus 10%. When equipped, the casting speed of Serial Strike is increased by 100%, and each strike deals an additional 5% agility damage. One of the Luo Shen suits, you can get powerful effects when collected together. Enchantment effect. Strength plus 2, agility plus 2. Seeing this effect, Wei Kai was a little dumbfounded. This is too crotch stretching. He only has 4 attributes, so he might as well eat a few more recipes and delicacies. How's the effect? Tian Xiaoling asked impatiently. Not great. Wei Kai wanted to speak directly, but when he raised his head and saw Tian Xiaoling's hopeful eyes, he couldn't help but feel soft in his heart. Good. He nodded and said with a smile, Sister Ling, if you practice more, it will definitely be of great use in the future. Oh, I understand. Tian Xiaoling is a smart person. As soon as she heard this, she understood what was going on. However, she was still very happy. After all, this is the first time she has made an enchanting talisman with her own hands, so it is already good if it works. Chapter 91. By the way, Sister Ling. Wei Kai also remembered something and hurriedly asked, have you ever heard of a task becoming more difficult when it changes? The mission has become more difficult. Tian Xiaoling thought for a while and nodded. It seems that there is such a thing. What's the specific situation? Wei Kai asked quickly. I heard that too. Tian Xiaoling scratched her head and thought about it for a while before replying. It seems that when receiving the job transfer task, the task suddenly became difficult. Originally, it only required collecting some ordinary items, but the task required collecting special materials for the boss. Quote. Then what? Wei Kai asked. Then, subsequent tasks will become extremely difficult, and some people will fail in the second step. Tian Xiaoling continued to try hard to recall. It was said that it was very difficult, and I almost lost my life. Later, I gave up the task and took it again, and then it returned to normal. Failed the second step. Wei Kai frowned when he heard this. Isn't this the same guy as Liang who said? Is it the same person? Then do you know the leader of the tiger fighting group? Wei Kai suddenly asked. You mean Liang who? He is from the Liang family. Tian Xiaoling quickly replied. It's the Liang Yuyu family who bought the mythical equipment from you. He is Liang Yuyu's cousin. I see. Wei Kai suddenly understood. It seems that Liang Hu is really not simple. But think about it, how can a person who can establish a war group in Yongning City and develop it into one of the top 5 war groups have no identity background? Why are you asking this? Tian Xiaoling asked strangely. Nothing. Wei Kai shook his head quickly and asked, then do you know other group leaders? For example, the Red Sun group is the best in Yongning. If we say we know each other, I actually know all of the top 10. Tian Xiaoling smiled lightly and said, however, the only one who can really speak is the third-ranked Blazing Fire group. The Blazing Fire group. Wei Kai thought for a while. I heard that the leader is a woman. Yes, it's Sister Li. Tian Xiaoling nodded and asked, you ask this, is there something wrong? There is indeed something going on. Wei Kai nodded slightly. After listening to Liang Hu's words, he decided to collect all 3 items needed for job transfer. Now that the white tiger's heart is available, it is not difficult to brush the dire wolf's teeth. The only difficulty is the peacock's feather. The peacock's feather is a special drop from the Moria King, the regional boss of the bird forest. Although the peacock king is only level 28, he is much stronger than the white tiger, and he can also fly. This is really difficult to deal with for Wei Kai, who has no anti-air skills. The best way, of course, is to hire a thug with a brush. If he could find a reliable thug, he would rather pay more. Anyway, after killing the boss, the equipment that explodes will definitely pay for itself. If you want to contact Sister Li, I can help you contact her, but Sister Li may not agree. She is very busy. Tian Xiaoling took a vaccination in advance. What are you busy with? Wei Kai said casually. Collecting herbs and farming. Ah, Wei Kai was stunned when he heard this. He can still understand picking medicine. What's going on with farming? A war group rank 3rd actually went to farm. It's farming in the wild. Tian Xiaoling explained. The land in the city is not enough, but no one dares to use the land in the wild, so Sister Li takes people to farm in the wild. Of course, what they grow is not ordinary food, but medicinal materials and special plants. Going to farm in the wild. Won't it be destroyed by monsters in the wild? Wei Kai became more and more curious. You know, there are monsters everywhere in the wild. Once upon a time, all the factories, fields, roads, and houses built by humans in the wild were destroyed by monsters. There are always those who survive. Tian Xiaoling said with a wry smile. As long as you plant enough, it is possible to survive. All right. After hearing this reason, Wei Kai was speechless. But after thinking about it, it seems to make sense. Anyway, the land in the wild has been abandoned. Instead of leaving it unused, it is better to plant something casually. If you can survive, it will be a gain. In a sense, this can be regarded as a small step for mankind to step out of the defensive circle. As long as it succeeds, it means a lot. Then please help me contact you. It doesn't matter whether it works or not. Wei Kaidao said. Good. Tian Xiaoling agreed immediately. After talking about business, Wei Kai said goodbye and left. Before going home, he went to Wu Yi's gourmet restaurant again. Wu Yi has been busy recently. Ever since the store opened, there has never been a day when it wasn't busy. However, he was also happy because he really made money after all. Within a week of opening, he had saved enough money to buy a house on the ground. However, he was more ambitious and wanted to buy a better one. Wei Kai quietly called Wu Yi over, and then took out the recipe for tiger whip wine. Make me some jars. Oh, what a good thing. Seeing the formula, Wu Yi's eyes immediately lit up, and then he looked at Wei Kai with a wicked smile. I didn't expect Brother Kai to be able to get such a good thing. Shish, just understand, don't tell anyone. Wei Kai whispered. No problem. Wu Yi agreed wholeheartedly, and then learned the formula on the spot. After learning the recipe, Wei Kai gave him some tiger whip, tiger bones and other raw materials, and then left the shop with satisfaction. When I got home, my mother Huang Liqiao had just prepared dinner. Seeing him coming back, he quickly greeted him and went over to have dinner with him. I thought you would be back late again. The family was eating and chatting. I have nothing to do today, so I came back early. Wei Kai took a mouthful of rice and responded in a low voice. Come back early and Mom will cook for you. Huang Liqiao looked at him and said, Look at you, you have only been transferred to a new job for a few days, and you are already losing weight. Is there any? Wei Kai looked down at his body and found that he had not become thinner at all, but had become stronger. The increase in attribute points is not only reflected on the data panel, but also affects the body in reality. Wei Kai tried his best to increase his strength, but only his strength and muscles increased. If he had increased his strength and physical strength, he might have become a muscular man by now. Anyway, I'll just come back early. Huang Liqiao did not argue with him and directly issued the order. Wei Kai was speechless and could only nod in agreement. Okay, if nothing happens in the future, I'll come back early. If anything happens, please call me back. After dinner, Wei Kai went to wash up and prepare to rest. In the living room, only Wei Yidong and Huang Liqiao were left. Looking at the back of their son entering the house, the two of them couldn't help but sigh at the same time. Old Wei, why didn't you say a word just now? Huang Liqiao asked, slightly dissatisfied. Say what? Wei Yidong spread his hands and said helplessly, My son is better than us now. Talking too much will only bore him. He has his own way, just let him go. As long as we don't hold back. When the world undergoes tremendous changes, the experience of the previous generation often becomes a symbol of conservatism and stubbornness. Not only is it inappropriate for the present, it may even harm the next generation. For example, the news about a 16-year-old child prodigy studying for a PhD is very popular recently. My son went to college at the age of 10, to graduate school at the age of 13, and to get a doctorate at the age of 16. It was clear that he had already embarked on a bright and prosperous road, but in the end, his parents had to control their son and let him follow the path they set. There were obviously 3 opportunities to change his fate, but they were all ruined by his parents. The ancestral graves are filled with smoke, and they can be extinguished by their parents themselves. Or 3 times. Would you say you are angry? Ignorant parents not only ruined their son's life, but also tried to cover up their short-sightedness and ignorance with, it's for your own good. More than 10 years later, my son finally gave up the struggle and chose to lie down and die. Become a member of all living beings. At this time, the Dragon Kingdom also experienced an unprecedented great change. After the game came to reality, the entire world has undergone earth-shaking changes. But Wei Yidong and Huang Liqiao are neither combat professionals fighting on the front line, nor are they important figures who can decide the fate of the Dragon Kingdom or change the pattern of Yongning. They are just 2 ordinary people, and their new jobs are ordinary workers and farmers. They don't even know how much change this great change has brought, what impact it has, and what consequences it will have. Therefore, their previous generation experience is of almost no use. It can neither help nor guide the future. Too much preaching and guidance will only harm children. What's more, at this time, Wei Kai was already a senior warrior and had already blazed his own path. The only thing they have to do is not to hold back. Wei Yidong had already seen the reality clearly, so he decisively chose to let go. Huang Liqiao originally wanted to say something, but after listening to her husband's explanation, she finally acquiesced. Okay, then I will cook for him and take care of his life from now on, right? It's not necessary. Wei Yidong smiled and waved his hand. Xiaoyi's cooking is much more delicious than yours, and it can also increase attributes. You, don't eat it if you can. Huang Liqiao was so angry that she put her hands on her hips. When Wei Yidong saw this, he quickly smiled and apologized. I'm just saying, don't be angry, don't be angry. Akai is watching. As soon as these words came out, most of Huang Liqiao's anger disappeared. After washing up, Wei Kai returned to the room. While lying on the bed to rest, I used my mobile phone to log into the official website and search for information. Regarding the changes in the first mission, although he listened to what Liang Hu and Tian Xiaoling said, he still wanted to know more. Especially the more difficult second step. How difficult is it? What is the specific content? Is there any corresponding report or specific process? He searched for a long time and finally found an article introducing the first level mission in a column called Newbie Advanced. According to the article, the process of transferring tasks is fixed. In general, the first step is to collect items. Most of the items are dropped by ordinary monsters around level 20, such as armored crocodile scales, thunderbird tail feathers, stone monster fragments, etc. The second step is to participate in the monster trial, which is similar to the survival trial mode. You must survive the monster tide and kill as many monsters as possible. The third step is to participate in the arena competition and get 3 winner badges. After completing 3 tasks, you can successfully switch. Of the 3 tasks, the first step is naturally the easiest. As long as you can upgrade to level 20 combat profession, it is not difficult to farm monsters around level 20, but the explosion rate may be a little bit higher. The second step seems difficult, but you can take the initiative to stop the trial. Once you find that you are no longer good, you can stop the trial immediately and use the current number of kills as your score. As long as you don't seek death, you won't die. The hardest part is actually the third step. Because the opponent in the arena is not a monster, but a human being. It's another job changer of the same level. As humans, your opponent may be smarter, better at fighting, and more cunning than you. Even the opponent's profession has unlimited possibilities. You have to quickly find the opponent's weaknesses and defeat the opponent without knowing the opponent's profession and skills. Only after winning 3 times and getting 3 victory badges can you complete the third step of the task. In order to prevent private PY transactions, the matching mechanism of the arena competition is random. Before the fight officially starts, you have no idea who your opponent is. It may be a rookie who has been leveling up all the way, or it may be a veteran who has experienced many battles. It is even more likely that he is a rich man who has been upgraded from power leveling, but is equipped with top-notch equipment and complete skills. There is no fairness in arena competition. If you can't beat me, you're the one to do it. Therefore, the arena competition not only tests ability, but also tests luck. People who are unlucky can be stuck for several years. He even lost to the point where his Taoist heart collapsed. After reading this process description, Wei Kai had a clear understanding of the first turn task. According to Liang Hu and Tian Xiaoling, the person whose task becomes difficult in the first step failed in the second step. That is, the monster trial. Are you going to fight the boss right from the start? However, ordinary bosses are no problem either. A monster trial that could make him almost die, and even dare not continue trying. I'm afraid it would be quite terrifying. Whatever, I have to give it a try anyway. Wei Kai smiled lightly, confident in himself. Since it is a trial, then use your strongest fighting power to challenge all odds. If you don't dare to face challenges head-on, what kind of warrior are you? It's better to go home and raise pigs. In addition to the normal process, there is a chance that a task will suddenly become difficult. The specific probability is unknown to the official, but it is speculated to be related to the attributes of the job changer. The higher the attributes, the higher the difficulty. The article also introduces several situations in which things suddenly become difficult. Signs that a task becomes difficult often start from the first step. The items to be collected change from ordinary drops to rare items and even epic items. Therefore, career changers often only look at the first step to know the difficulty of the task. Then isn't mine the highest level of difficulty? Wei Kai was a little stunned. The heart of the white tiger is a special drop from the white tiger, and its grade is epic. The other 2 items are also of epic level. Just collecting 1 piece is already extremely difficult. If all 3 pieces are complete, I'm afraid the difficulty will be overwhelming. It seems that we need to prepare well. Wei Kai is not afraid of the difficulty increasing, nor is he afraid of the monster trial in the second step. I'm just afraid that I will be careless and challenge rashly without adequate preparation, leading to ultimate failure. If it is insufficient strength, it will lead to failure. He can accept it humbly. No big deal, start over. But if the failure is due to other reasons, he will never accept it. Early the next morning, as soon as Wei Kai got up, he received a message from Tian Xiaoling. I asked Sister Li, but she said she was not free. I'm sorry. Well, it seems that he is indeed a busy man. Wei Kai didn't have anything to be angry about. After all, he had his own things to do, so if he didn't have time, he didn't have time. Not everyone is willing to work as a thug for others for money. It seems that the Tiger Fighting Group is still quite short of money. Wei Kai suddenly thought. However, it is impossible for him to find the Tiger Fighting Group again. Then do it yourself. Although the Moria King is a bit more troublesome, it is not impossible to defeat him. There is still a chance if you grind hard. But before that, the Wolf King must be dealt with first. This is also easy first and then difficult. After determining today's goal, Wei Kai quickly finished washing and went out. While it was still dark, I went to Wu Yi's shop for breakfast as usual. On the way, I chatted with Tian Xiaoling for a while about the Blazing Fire Ball. Only then did they learn that the Blazing Fire group was going out of the city to farm today, and that it was just outside the bird forest. It was originally a farm with large areas of farmland and orchards, but was later occupied by various bird monsters. Those bird monsters only eat the fruits in the orchard and do not cause much damage to the farmland, so you can try to plant them. Are they going to stay there? Wei Kai was curious and couldn't help but ask. Stay guard during the day, and have to return to the city at night. That's quite hard. Yes, but this is Sister Li's career, and she doesn't feel hard at all. Admire. Hee. While chatting, I suddenly received another message in my hand. When I opened it, I found that it was from Captain Wu Qiliang. There is an attendance mission today. The difficulty level is 1 star. There are no additional requirements. If you want to go, you can sign up with me. There are only 5 places. Seeing this news, Wei Kai was stunned for a while before he reacted. So this is how the field regiment works. As long as you sign up and participate, it counts as completing the attendance mission, right? The task difficulty is only 1 star, and there are no other requirements. It seems to be quite easy. It's a good opportunity to paddle and fish. It's a pity that Wei Kai had plans for today, otherwise he would have wanted to sign up. Captain, can I ask what the mission is? Wei Kai curiously replied with a message. After a while, Wu Qiliang's reply came quickly. On the outskirts of Bird's Forest, there is a scientific research group that protects farming. The monsters there are all below level 10, so it is not difficult. It is most suitable for newcomers. If you want to go, I can help you sign up. It's also a bird forest. Wei Kai was quite surprised after reading the news. Judging from the captain's reply, the mission of the field team may be to protect the Blazing Group's farming. What a coincidence. However, coincidence being coincidence, he still wasn't free. Sorry, I've been a little busy recently, so let's forget it. Wei Kai quickly sent a message, declining the captain's kindness. After the message was sent, the bus also stopped. Dongchengmen Station arrived. After getting off the car, Wei Kai went straight to the wild boar forest. It was just dawn at this time, the sun rose and illuminated the earth, creating a prosperous scene. There were not many people who entered the wild boar forest for the first time. After a week of leveling, most of the job transferees have reached around level 10 and are beginning to challenge elite monsters and bosses. There are not only ordinary monsters at levels 3 to 12 in the wild boar forest, but also elite monsters at levels 6 to 15. It is still the best place for leveling. When the number of people increases, it is easy for there to be too many monsters and not enough monsters. Fortunately, Wei Kai's target was not those ordinary monsters and elite monsters. After entering the wild boar forest, he went all the way deep and soon entered the dense forest. Squeak. As soon as we entered the dense forest, we heard the familiar sound of monkeys. Wei Kai turned around and saw that it was General Bang again. General Bang asked him to stay last night, but he ignored him. Unexpectedly, after one night passed, General Bang was waiting for him here again. Are you waiting for me here? GG. General Bang nodded repeatedly, and then waved to him, motioning for him to come over. Wei Kai hesitated for a moment. What's going on? Squeak. As General Bang said, he took out a small gourd from somewhere and threw it over. Wei Kai was stunned for a moment, and then he saw the small gourd emitting purple light and turning into a dropped object. He picked it up and saw that it was a jug of wine. Monkey wine, rare, fruit wine brewed by monkeys. Drinking it can increase movement speed and jumping ability. Squeak! General Bang shouted, took out another small gourd, then opened the lid and drank. Cheers. Okay, let's have a drink. Wei Kai looked a little funny, but he still had a drink with the other party. He wasn't worried about what the other party was up to, after all, it was something approved by heaven. The way of heaven says it is monkey wine, then it is monkey wine. Squeak, hiss. General Bang drank it all in one gulp, then threw the gourd away, took out a stick from nowhere, and made a fierce grin. Then it picked up the stick and struck forward, directly breaking a small tree in front of it. Wei Kai was startled at first, thinking that General Bang was drunk and crazy and wanted to attack him. He even took out his golden cudgel and prepared to fight back. Who knows what General Bang meant? It doesn't seem like this. But, if you drink my wine, you have to fight with me. Who do you want me to fight with you? Wei Kai asked tentatively. Ouch! General Bang fell to the ground on all fours, roaring like a wolf. Wolf! Wolf King! You want me to go with you to kill the Wolf King? Squeak! 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 General Bang nodded repeatedly. His reaction was quite strong, as if he was saying, "Ah, yes, yes." Hey, it turned out to be the Wolf Killer King. Wei Kai smiled immediately when he saw its reaction. The purpose of his coming here today is to kill the Wolf King and obtain the teeth of the dire wolf. Unexpectedly, the intentions of General Bang coincided with each other. In this case, why are you hesitating? Let's go together. Wei Kai quickly waved his wine gourd and followed him on the spot. Not long after, under the leadership of General Bang, one person and one monkey came to a hillside. It is empty on all sides, and you can see the surrounding situation at a glance. Before Wei Kai had time to sigh, he found a huge figure appearing in front of him. It's the Wolf King. Ouch! The Wolf King also noticed their presence and immediately roared, seemingly calling his men. When General Bang saw this, he directly picked up his stick and rushed forward. To him, the Wolf King's strength is not that strong, only 50 to 50 at most. Now that it has a new helper, the Wolf King will definitely die. Wei Kai didn't expect General Bang to be so reckless, but since he was so reckless, then let's go together. Isn't it just a Wolf King? Drink. Wei Kai started with the familiar charge skill, which was used to close the distance and test the Wolf King's strength. However, he never expected that the speed of this collision would be extremely fast. It's no slower than when I was wearing the wild boar charge jacket before. Is this the power of monkey wine? He suddenly thought. The next moment, the two sides collided with each other, and the Wolf King lost his balance and stumbled to the ground. After level 20, with the blessing of powerful equipment, Wei Kai's strength has reached more than 350 points. This collision directly knocked the Wolf King down. General Bang was stunned for a moment, then immediately seized the opportunity, jumped up and struck down with his stick. Kill it while it's sick. Wei Kai did not hesitate, swung the iron rod in his hand, and struck out one after another. Minus 785. Internal injury. Minus 1034. The first blow caused internal injuries, and Wei Kai was immediately delighted. However, what surprised him even more was that the damage dealt by General Bang turned into real damage. Yes, General Bang also uses a stick, which is also a blunt weapon. So, as long as there are internal injuries, teammates can also enjoy the benefits. This effect is too powerful. After a set of consecutive hits, the Wolf King's health bar has been reduced by 1/10. A long list of debuffs appeared on the head, including internal injuries, bleeding, fear, resistance reduction, damage reduction, etc. Some were fought by Wei Kai, and some were fought by General Bang. With so many debuffs, one can imagine the state of the Wolf King. Even if it quickly got up and started to fight back, it would not pose much of a threat to Wei Kai. As for General Bang, it goes without saying. Relying on its flexible movements, it moved around the Wolf King, making the Wolf King spin around, but it could not touch the enemy. Ouch! Wei Kai and General Bang joined forces and beat the Wolf King until he cried for his father and mother in just 3 minutes, calling out one after another. However, those ordinary wild wolves who followed the call were not Wei Kai's enemies at all. With just one swipe, you can kill several of them. They couldn't even slightly block their attack rhythm. 19, 20, 21. Wei Kai counted his combos. When the count reached 21, a burst of black and white energy suddenly appeared on his body, which shocked General Bang and the Wolf King beside him. General Bang was lucky. After seeing clearly that it was Wei Kai, he quickly stepped aside. The Wolf King was really frightened and was about to run away with his tail between his legs. It's a pity that Wei Kai will not give it any chance to escape. Take my stick. Wei Kai imitated General Bang's previous posture, jumped up high, and then crashed down hard. -6,468. A huge number appeared and knocked the Wolf King unconscious on the spot. Wei Kai was also a little surprised. He didn't expect this move to be so cruel. It seems that jumping attacks also have additional bonuses. After succeeding with one blow, he continued to pursue the victory. Various skills come into play in turn. 3 seconds later, the Wolf King's health bar had dropped to 1/3. At this time, the chain attack has also finished cooling down, and the skill can be directly connected. With the hegemonic state, no one can stop Wei Kai's explosion. After the second consecutive hit, dense numbers appeared on Wolf King's head. 1/3 of his health bar was cleared on the spot. Woohoo! The Wolf King howled and fell to the ground on the spot. After a moment, the Wolf King's body turned into a white light, and several pink lights burst out at the same time. Exploded equipment. When General Bang saw this scene, he jumped over happily, as if he was looking for something. But it quickly froze. It searched for the fallen objects on the ground, but found nothing. After searching for a long time, it still couldn't find what it wanted. GG. G. What's wrong? As soon as Wei Kai put away his weapon, he heard General Bang's impatient cry and asked quickly. Squeak. General Bang danced and gestured for a while, making a fruit look with his hands. You mean, that red fruit? Wei Kai immediately thought of it and quickly opened his backpack to check. It's really here. Looking at the red fruits in his backpack, he couldn't help but laugh. The automatic pickup setting of the diamond bracelet has always been an epic level or above item. Unexpectedly, this time he actually picked up the things that General Bang wanted. This red fruit is also an epic item. Ripe red fruit. It takes 100 years to bloom and bear fruit. Eating it can increase your power. Squeak, squeak, squeak. As soon as Wei Kai finished reading Zhu Guo's introduction, General Bang couldn't wait to shout, as if he wanted Wei Kai to return it. Forget it, give it to you. In view of the cooperation just now and the golden hoop in his hand, Wei Kai finally handed over the Zhu Guo. After General Bang took it, he jumped up and down with joy and grinned. He even gave Wei Kai 3 bows to thank him for his help. You're welcome. Wei Kai smiled and waved his hand, then sighed. It would be great if you could not attack humans in the future. Although he and General Bang worked together to kill the Wolf King, the health bar above General Bang's head was still bright at this time. This also means that they are still hostile camps and can attack each other at any time. Even if it means killing the other party. GG. General Bang seemed to understand what he said, but he shook his head. Doesn't seem to agree with this statement. In its view, it was obviously humans who attacked it first, and the monkeys were forced to fight back. If they just get beaten without fighting back, how can the monkeys survive? Squeak, squeak, squeak. But, you are a good person. General Bang danced and talked, and then bowed to Wei Kai. At this moment, Wei Kai was surprised to find the blood bar on General Bang's head turned green. What's going on? He was taken aback and his eyes widened suddenly. The blood bar changes from red to green, which means that the two sides have changed from hostility to peaceful relations. Could it be that General Bang regarded him as foster father? You monkey have been wandering for half your life, and you haven't met your master yet, right? Thinking of this, Wei Kai suddenly couldn't laugh or cry and waved his hands repeatedly. Squeak. At this moment, General Bang took out a small gourd from nowhere and handed it over. I still have it here. Wei Kai immediately understood what the other party meant, so he took out the monkey wine that he had not finished drinking. Then, the two sides touched each other. Done. Wei Kai smiled, then raised his head and drank it all. General Bang also followed suit and became bored. After finishing the drink, General Bang grinned, and then waved to him, indicating that he was leaving. Okay, bye then. Wei Kai didn't think too much, waved his hand and watched General Bang leave. For him, today's goal has been achieved. The dire wolf fang and a piece of mythical equipment in the backpack are the harvest this time. Next, it's the Peacock King of the Bird Forest. Aviary is on the other side of the city. If you want to go to Banyalan, you have to go back to the city first, then take a car through Yongning City and go to the West City Gate. On the way, Wei Kai took a look at the trophies from killing the Wolf King. Unexpectedly, an unexpected surprise came. Crippling blow. A legendary skill book lies quietly in the backpack. If you don't look carefully, you really can't find it. After confirming that it was correct, Wei Kai learned it on the spot. After looking at the new skills in the skill column, Wei Kai gained a little more confidence. I heard that peacocks can fly very well. If I strike a crippling blow, how should you respond? If the skill book of crippling strike was an unexpected surprise, then the other mythical equipment was expected. This is a level 25 mace knife. Although the attributes are very good, it is a pity that it is level 25 and it is also a weapon. Conflict with the golden hoop in hand. With the power of the golden cudgel, there is no need to change weapons before level 30. Therefore, this level 25 mythical weapon can only be kept and sold for money. However, it doesn't matter. For Wei Kai, mythical equipment is not rare. At most, he can brush it a few times and he can always find something suitable for his own use. In addition to the mythical weapons and skill books, the remaining piece of epic level equipment is quite ordinary, not as good as the Phoenix Opera gloves on his hand. But among the pile of trophies under the blue sky and white clouds, there was something good that made his eyes shine. Wolf hair needle hidden weapon. After being thrown, it will shoot out wolf hair all over the sky. If it hits, it can cause 10 points of real damage and a short-term ceiling effect. The biggest highlight of this hidden weapon is undoubtedly the ceiling effect it creates. Although it only lasts for half a second, it is a very useful interrupting skill. It is very useful to deal with bosses who need to read and release skills. In addition, there is another overbearing aspect to the ceiling effect. It can not only interrupt reading skills, but also seal passive skills and buffs. Although it doesn't last long as it is used properly, it will have miraculous effects. After 20 minutes of changing trains, Wei Kai finally arrived at the West Gate. Once out of the city, there is a vast farm outside. On the left is a fertile field, on the right is an orchard forest. Taken together, it is the entire bird forest. At this time, a group of fully armed combat professionals were gathering in the fertile fields on the left. They divided into two groups. One group is farming, while the other group is patrolling and guarding nearby with weapons. Once you find a monster spawning, kill it immediately. The monsters here are all ordinary mobs, such as level 3 rats and level 5 hyenas. Because the level difference is too big, there is no experience in killing monsters. The only reward may be the equipment and pieces of meat that will explode from time to time. However, this kind of rat and dog meat is not popular with the public. Even if you get it, it will be difficult to sell it on the market. It can only be sold to some unscrupulous vendors at low prices and used to make certain recipe delicacies that do not require the type of meat. Because of this, few people are willing to come here to brush monsters. Novices who are leveling up are often more willing to go to the wild boar forest. After all, the wild boar is a treasure, and no matter what ingredients it drops, it can be sold at a high price. It's much more profitable than here. Wei Kai glanced here a few times and recognized the Captain Wu Qiliang in the crowd at a glance. There were several members of the action team beside him, but it was a pity that Wei Kai didn't recognize any of them. He also didn't know the other group of people. However, the beautiful lady at the head could be recognized at a glance. She is the Sister Li, in Tian Xiaoling's mouth, Li Rudai, the leader of the Blazing Fire group. However, since he was not familiar with the other party, it was not easy to rush up and disturb him. As for the captain, they are currently on duty and should not be disturbed casually. After looking at it for a few times, Wei Kai turned around and headed towards the orchard. Also on the outskirts of the bird forest, the orchard has a much richer variety of monsters. A variety of birds with colorful appearances are dazzling to see. Unfortunately, these birds are not as cute as they appear, but are actually very fierce. As soon as Wei Kai got closer, he heard the noise of chirping, and then saw a group of birds flying towards him, pulling and pulling as they flew. I'm confused. Wei Kai was immediately startled and hurriedly dodged to the side to avoid these flying things in the air. Before coming, he had done detailed homework. Don't look at these bird droppings, they don't seem to have any lethality. In fact, it can not only cause mental blow, but also physical damage. As long as you are hit by bird droppings, you will be infected with the disease, reduce all attributes, and slowly lose blood. One piece of bird poop may not have much effect, but if there are hundreds or thousands of bird poop, it will be effective. Even a top-level 80 expert will have to run away in panic once he is attacked. Of course, if you are really a level 80 master, you can kill these birds instantly with just a wave of your hand, and they will never have the chance to poop above your head. Wei Kai doesn't have the strength of a level 80 master, but he has something special to deal with these birds. Heavy Rain Pear Blossom Needle. He took out 2 hidden weapons directly from his backpack and threw them into the sky. The next moment, countless invisible thin needles shot out from the syringe. -30, -30, -50. Dense numbers of damage appeared above the heads of the birds. Those arrogant birds died one after another and fell like rain. Seeing this scene, Wei Kai suddenly raised the corners of his mouth slightly. See if you still dare to be arrogant. These birds are very weak individually, with only about 20 HP. As long as they are hit by a hidden weapon, they will basically die. It's just that they can fly and are relatively agile, and they are crowded together in groups, so they have a certain deterrent effect. But it is a pity that these characteristics of them are completely overcome by hidden weapons. Although the hidden weapons made by alchemists do not have high damage, they are large in number and have a wide impact area. Just in time to restrain these flocks of birds. However, the production cost of these concealed weapons is not low, and the selling price is not cheap either. Not everyone can afford it, and it is not cost-effective at all if it is used to kill these birds. After all, their drops are really pitiful. After the 2 hidden weapons cleared the flock of birds, Wei Kai took a look at their fall and felt dumbfounded. There is a hair. Yes, a flock of birds only lost 1 feather. It looks very shabby. The most embarrassing thing is that this bird feather is of no use. Wei Kai took a look and saw that it was neither picking up nor picking up. After a while, he finally couldn't help but sigh. Forget it, no matter how small a mosquito is, it's still meat. Just a bird feather, just a bird feather. Anyway, the backpack is big enough, so it can be used as a trash picker. After dealing with a flock of birds, Wei Kai continued walking inside. After walking a few steps, there was another loud noise ahead. Here we go again. He was about to dig out the concealed weapon in his backpack, but he heard a loud, "Oh no! Don't come over here." A heart-piercing scream made Wei Kai couldn't help but think of some tragic scenes. Almost laughed out loud. Someone has been shitted. With a trace of curiosity, he hurried over and saw a man covered in spots and bird droppings. "Brother, do you want to help?" he asked kindly. Hearing this, the man was so frightened that he quickly turned his head and finally breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that Wei Kai was the only one. "No, I want to kill them with my own hands." The man gritted his teeth and waved the staff in his hand with hatred. The next moment, a fireball as big as a fist suddenly appeared on the top of his staff, and then slammed towards the birds. Boom! The birds fled in all directions, leaving behind several charred bird carcasses. However, this damage is negligible to a flock of hundreds of birds. The birds dispersed and gathered again, and soon they formed a flock again and flew towards the man's head. Bah! Bah! The bird droppings were like bombs dropped by bombers, constantly hitting the man's body and turning into black and white spots. At the same time, it causes tons of damage to the man's psychology. Wei Kai couldn't bear to see this scene. How cruel! After this round of bombing, various abnormal conditions began to appear on the man's head. The most conspicuous among them is naturally disease. After the disease appeared, the man's blood bar began to slowly drop. Although the blood loss was not much each time, it was enough to drink a pot. Ooh, I won't play anymore. The man collapsed on the spot and cried bitterly. He is obviously the proud son of God in the school and is respected by everyone wherever he goes. As a result, he was bullied by a group of smelly birds. If the students saw this bird shit, they would be completely embarrassed. Careful, here we go again. At this moment, he suddenly heard someone shouting. He quickly looked up and found that those birds were charging over again. Ah, I want to go home. He shouted and ran straight out of the woods. Not far away, Wei Kai looked at the mage man who was heartbroken, feeling a little funny and angry. The other party's miserable appearance is indeed interesting, but bringing a flock of birds to my head is a bit excessive, right? Go. Wei Kai didn't hesitate, just took out the hidden weapon and threw it away. The next moment, a large number of birds were attacked one after another, and there was a rain of birds on the spot. Well, the mage man who was running wildly opened his eyes when he saw this. What spell did you use? It's not a spell, it's a hidden weapon. Wei Kai sighed. Isn't this guy a fool to learn magic? Not everyone is a mage, so where does the magic come from? Hidden weapon. The mage man was stunned for a moment and asked with confusion on his face, can you still use hidden weapons to kill monsters? Sure, Wei Kai nodded and said earnestly. There are many ways to kill monsters, so there is no need to use magic, right? There are thousands of professions in the world, and there are even 2 professions that specialize in the use of concealed weapons. They are the assassin's first-level branch, hidden weapon master, and the archer's first-level branch, hunting king. Both are proficient in hidden weapons and have special bonuses. Although Wei Kai is not in these 2 professions, normal people can also use hidden weapons, and the effects are good. It's just that this mage man doesn't understand. I thought it was different. The mage man was stunned for a moment and muttered, I am a mage, so I should use magic to fight. Haha, then just keep using magic. Wei Kai shrugged, then suddenly raised his head and exclaimed, another group is here. Ah, no. As soon as the mage man heard this, he ran away on the spot, not even daring to look up. Although his spells are powerful, they are not enough to deal with this flock of birds. Unless you can create a fireball as big as a bathtub, which will directly blow up the flock of birds. But obviously, he can't do it. So I can only run away. Seeing this scene, Wei Kai almost laughed until his stomach hurt. He didn't expect that he could scare the other party like this just by cheating. But it's good to do this, let the other party's memory improve, and drive him out at the same time. If you don't have the skills and are not prepared, don't come here to die. Just like that, the mage man was scared to death and ran out of the woods crying and shouting. Wei Kai didn't stop any longer and continued walking inside. After killing several more flocks of birds, Wei Kai finally saw another kind of bird monster in the woods. A kind of monster with human body and bird head, 2 wings on its ribs, and a long pointed beak on its mouth. This is Thunderbird. Because he had done his homework when he came, Wei Kai recognized this monster at a glance. Different from ordinary birds, this kind of Thunderbird is very powerful. It not only has the flexibility and ferocity of a raptor, but also can perform magic. The reason why it is called Thunderbird is because it can call thunder and lightning to attack people on the ground from the air. If ordinary people encounter it, they will only be beaten passively. Only mages or archers can perform long-range attacks on it. When Wei Kai discovered Thunderbird, the other party also discovered his presence. Bah! The Thunderbird screamed, its body drew a graceful arc, and dived directly towards Wei Kai. Well done. Wei Kai was originally worried that the other party would not dare to approach. I didn't expect this Thunderbird to be so ferocious, then just wait for death. He shouted loudly, and the golden cudgel in his hand instantly grew in size, and then he swung it out as hard as hitting a baseball. Bang! The Thunderbird's body collided hard with the golden cudgel, making a soft sound. -5342. A huge damage figure appeared, and the Thunderbird turned into a blood mist on the spot. One move in seconds. The level 15 Thunderbird was killed in seconds by Wei Kai. If this scene were seen by outsiders, their jaws would probably drop in shock. This Thunderbird is notoriously a difficult opponent in the bird forest. Most people would feel a little unhappy when encountering one, and would even rather run away than fight with it. As a result, Wei Kai's stick couldn't even block a single blow. As soon as the Thunderbird died, several rays of light dropped from the sky. There are blue and white, but no purple. Seeing this scene, Wei Kai suddenly smiled bitterly. This thing is too tricky. If he hadn't had the talent of dropping all items, he would have thought that his face was too dark and his explosion rate was too low. In fact, the drop of this Thunderbird is just such a trap. Among all the dropped items, the only valuable one is the blue Thunderbird tail feather, which is a first-turn quest item. Poor and difficult. This is the real reason why most people don't want to use it. After killing the Thunderbird, Wei Kai continued walking inside. After walking a few steps, after turning a corner, a towering tree suddenly appeared in front of me. The trunk of the big tree is nearly 20 meters high, and its crown is like a giant umbrella, blocking out the sky and the sun. Under the canopy, the branches and leaves are luxuriant and the fruits are abundant. In the middle of the canopy, there are also a large number of birds living, including flocks of birds and ptarmigans that we have encountered before. They were chirping, jumping up and down, and they felt very comfortable. Seeing this tree, Wei Kai was startled and quickly took several steps back. But it's too late. The bird monster soon discovered him, and a large number of birds swarmed in and flew towards his head. A dozen thunderbirds also flew high, their wings flashing with the purple light of thunder and lightning. There were also war eagles, sharp-beaked birds, poisonous monster birds and a bunch of other random birds, all flying in swarm. This posture seemed to have stirred up a hornet's nest. In fact, this is indeed the nest of the bird monsters and the center of the bird forest. Breaking into this place is equivalent to stabbing the bird's nest. Wei Kai was startled by this posture and quickly took out his golden cudgel and made a defensive posture. At the same time, start to back away slowly. However, these bird monsters obviously did not intend to let him go. The flock of birds was the first to attack, flying over Wei Kai's head from high altitude and dropping poop bombs, one after another. Fortunately, Wei Kai's movement speed is not low, and his reaction is fast enough. A side dodge, then a charge, and he dodged directly. But it's not over yet. As soon as his feet landed, a purple lightning struck from above his head, hitting Wei Kai's body. -100. The huge number stunned Wei Kai for a moment. He is now level 20. Apart from the armor that has added some physical strength, there is no health increasing equipment in his body. The maximum blood volume is just over 1,000, only 1050. A bolt of lightning killed 1/10 of them. Who can bear this harm? And it's not over yet. While he was dazed, the Thunderbird high in the sky flapped its wings again and dropped several lightning bolts one after another. Caught off guard, Wei Kai resisted 2 more attacks, and finally managed to dodge the remaining 5. This time, his blood volume dropped by another 2/10, leaving only 750 points. These guys are the biggest threat. Wei Kai raised his head and glanced at the Thunderbird high in the sky, gritting his teeth. Although the shit bombs of the birds are extremely insulting, the damage caused is not high, and it doesn't matter even if they are hit a few times. But Thunderbird's summoning of lightning is completely different. If he gets hit a few more times, he may have to run away with his tail between his legs. Then kill them first. Wei Kai gritted his teeth, took out 10 hidden weapons from his backpack, and then threw them into the sky. Whoosh! The wolf hair needle made a strong sound of breaking through the air and shot towards the group of Thunderbirds. At the same time, Wei Kai squatted slightly with his feet, then jumped suddenly, and his whole body flew up. With the blessing of Haorju, he jumped nearly 10 meters high, and at the same time, the golden cudgel in his hand instantly became larger and longer. Seeing this scene, the Thunderbirds in the sky were frightened and wanted to escape. But it's too late. The wolf hair needle pierced the sky and plunged straight into each Thunderbird's body. -10. Seal. Although 10 points of damage was not high, the effect of the seal killed Thunderbird. They flapped their wings, but found that their wings seemed to be malfunctioning, and they immediately became unstable and fell straight down. Wei Kai has been waiting for this moment for a long time. He swung the iron rod and made a sweeping sweep, spinning in a circle in the air. Bang, bang, bang. All Thunderbirds hit by the golden cudgel turned into blood mist, filling the sky. After one blow, the sky turned into a light pink. Bang! Wei Kai fell back to the ground and was preparing to take advantage of the victory and kill all the remaining bird monsters. But unexpectedly, another group of bird monsters had already flown over. The leading war eagle opened its sharp claws and clawed hard at his eyes. The iron-beaked bird behind him, with its beak like a blade, also kept an eye on Wei Kai's weak spot, his neck. There is also the poisonous saliva of the poisonous monster bird, as well as more bird droppings and feather-hidden weapons. Faced with such a fierce counterattack, Wei Kai could not dodge, so he had to wave the iron rod in his hand vigorously while trying to avoid the fatal attack of the bird monster. -50, -12, -40. A series of numbers appeared, and Wei Kai's health bar suddenly dropped by half, leaving only 320 points of blood. Danger. This amount of blood has already entered the danger line. If he continues to be besieged, he may not be able to hold on for long. Then rush out. Wei Kai gritted his teeth suddenly, gave up the counterattack, and rushed out in one direction. Charge. The fast and fierce charge directly knocked away all the bird monsters around him. The weaker bird monsters were even killed on the spot. Wei Kai took advantage of this collision and successfully escaped from the encirclement. However, he also paid a price. Not only did his blood volume drop by 140, but 2 fatal debuffs appeared on the status bar one after another. Disease, slowness. Not to mention the disease buff, the slow effect is also quite fatal. It can also reduce movement speed and attack speed. Although not as much as crippling strike, it is still a very disgusting debuff. Looking at the health bar, there were only 180 blood points left. Wei Kai completely lost his scruples. He knew very well that if he didn't kill these bird monsters today, he would be responsible for it. So he reached for his backpack again. Heavy rain pear blossom needle. 10 hidden weapons were thrown into the air at the same time. Tens of thousands of fine needles shot out in the sky, covering a 30-meter radius. The bird monsters that were chasing him were all unable to dodge and were hit instantly, with damage numbers popping up above their heads. The weaker bird monster turned into a white light on the spot. The stronger bird monsters were still resisting and trying to escape. However, how can it be so easy to avoid the rainstorm pear blossom needle? Even the most powerful war eagle, after eating dozens of fine needles, the blood bar on its head disappeared and its body turned into white light. After a while, the entire sky became pure. The bird monsters that were so menacing and unyielding a second ago all turned into white light at this moment. Countless white, blue, and purple dropped objects covered the entire ground. Diamond bracelet, picked up automatically. Wei Kai gave the order directly. As soon as he finished speaking, the dropped objects that were originally on the floor were swept away and went directly into his backpack. Well, it's finally solved. Wei Kai breathed a long sigh of relief. He also didn't expect that a group of bird monsters could actually push him to such a point. If I hadn't done enough homework before coming here and had enough hidden weapons on my body, I might have to explain it here. But, what to do next? Do you still want to go find the Moria King? He said to himself. As soon as he finished speaking, an angry bird call suddenly came from his ears. Phew, not good. Hearing this voice, Wei Kai's heart suddenly skipped a beat, and alarm bells rang in his mind. He rolled over and hid near the rocks on the right. The next moment, dozens of sharp feathers hit the place where he was standing, turning the small tree next to him into a bird feather duster. Fortunately, I hid quickly. Wei Kai repeatedly called him lucky, and then looked up. I saw a big bird with blue body and colorful feathers flying from the west. Peacock King. Wei Kai recognized the other party's identity at a glance and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Say Cao Cao, Cao Cao will be here. He also didn't expect that the Moria King would be refreshed at this time. Shameless boss, you took advantage of me that I had just cleared the flock of birds and my status had not yet recovered. Come to cheat, come to sneak attack. Looking at the slowness and disease buffs on the status bar, there is only 180 health left. Wei Kai's mind began to work rapidly. Escape or fight? If he were to escape, in his current state and under the influence of the slowness buff, he would definitely not be able to run fast. With Moria's flying speed, it is easy to catch up with him. Moreover, when escaping, you need to use your butt to fight the enemy, which means you are beaten in vain without even a chance to fight back. The most important thing is that he only has 180 health points. With the Moria King's level and attack power, he would be killed if he encountered him casually. To put it simply, escape is a dead end. Then the only thing left is to fight. Wei Kai took a deep breath and calmed down. Li Chengyuan, the god of war of the Dragon Kingdom, once said, warriors can only die standing. Instead of dying on the way to escape. Only when facing the enemy head-on can you avoid the enemy's attack. As long as you kill the enemy, you will survive. At this thought, Wei Kai felt his whole body begin to heat up, and his adrenaline also surged. Both the senses, the state of mind, and the fighting spirit have reached their peak. One person and one stick, standing proudly. But the Morian king ignored these. When it missed a hit, it suddenly became angry and the colorful feathers on its body swayed slightly, emitting 7 rays of light of different colors. 7 colors of light. When Wei Kai saw this move, he quickly charged to the side to avoid it. The next moment, 7 colored light bombarded the stone, shattering it on the spot. Seeing this scene, Wei Kai was not only not afraid, but also became more eager to fight. Have you had enough trouble? It's my turn. He shouted softly and threw the wolf hair needle in his hand directly into the air. Then he held the golden cudgel tightly in his right hand, jumped his feet and stepped firmly on the stick. He stretched out his left hand slightly to try to maintain his balance. At the same time, he muttered words. Long, long, long. The stick rose up from the ground according to his will, and quickly took Wei Kai's body into the sky. The next moment, several wolf hair needles hit Moria King's body at the same time, and the sealing effect took effect immediately. The Morian king was momentarily unstable and on the verge of collapse. Good opportunity. When Wei Kai saw this, he immediately kicked off his feet, jumped forward high, rounded the golden cudgel with his right hand, and then smashed it down hard. Phew! The Peacock King made a clear cry, and it only took less than 0.5 seconds to release the seal, then stabilized his body and fluttered his wings to fly. Just then, an iron rod hit him in the head. Boom! The iron rod hit the Moria King hard on the head, directly breaking its crest and feathers. -4,397. A terrifying damage figure appeared, followed by a series of debuffs. Internal injury, bleed, fear, shoot down. Moria fell straight down like a plane hit by a missile. Then it hit the ground hard, splashing smoke and dust all over the ground. Bang! On the other side, Wei Kai also landed steadily from the sky, and the golden hoop in his hand returned to its normal form. After landing, he didn't stop for a moment and charged directly in front of the Moria King. Then he raised his stick and dropped it, hitting the Moria King on the head with 7 consecutive blows. The Morian king had just gotten up from the ground, his head was still buzzing, and he didn't understand what was going on, and he was hit by a series of blows. 7 hits in a row, each time causing real damage. The last 2 hits were even consecutive critical hits, and the huge damage figures made Wei Kai's eyelids jump. -1,965, -2,856. This wasn't over yet. After the series of attacks, Wei Kai followed up with another, crippling blow, directly knocking down the Peacock King who was still trying to get up. After one blow, a crippled buff appeared on Moria's head. In a disabled state, all its struggles seemed so futile, and it could not even stand up. Of course, Wei Kai would not let go of such a good output opportunity. He once again launched a series of combos, and the various skills connected smoothly. After 10 seconds of smooth output like this, Moria finally got rid of the debuffs of falling and being disabled, and struggled to stand up. At this time, Wei Kai had already entered the hegemonic state, and at the same time, the cooldown of the chain attack had also improved. He ignored it and faced the Moria King's counterattack. Under the baptism of 7-colored light, he raised the golden cudgel in his hand high. Boom, boom, boom. 7 hits in a row, critical hits again and again. With the blessing of various buffs, Wei Kai's critical hit rate and critical hit damage have reached a terrifying level. 7 huge damage numbers popped up again. -1,034, -1,793, -2,321, -4,864. Beep. With the 7th hit, the Peacock King raised his neck high and fell to the ground with a scream. Die. Wei Kai, who was holding the golden cudgel high and preparing to continue the combo, was stunned on the spot. You can't help but fight. Is this dead? He never expected that the Peacock King, who was originally aloof and arrogant, After being shot down, he was beaten to death with a combo of moves. This blood volume is too low, right? But after thinking about it, this seems reasonable. The individual strength of birds is inherently inferior to that of beasts. Compared with white tiger, Moria's advantages are high attack and ability to fly, but its disadvantages are naturally low defense and less health. But I'm afraid it didn't expect to encounter such a perverted enemy. Not only is the attack powerful, but the combos are smooth, and the skills are even more deadly. With one move in a row, it wiped out tens of thousands of its health. In a daze, the Moria King's body turned into a white light. What ensues is, nothing happens. There is no light and no effect of exploding equipment. Wei Kai was stunned for a moment, then suddenly laughed. Auto pick up. Before the drop of Moria King was revealed, the diamond bracelet had already been picked up. No wonder there was no reaction at all. However, when Wei Kai looked at the backpack, the series of golden light, red light, and pink light still made him excited for a while. What excited him the most was of course the epic quest item. I finally got the peacock feather. With this, the first step of the mission was finally successfully completed. With the peacock feather in hand, the purpose of this trip has been achieved. Wei Kai glanced at the stone shattered by the seven-colored light and prepared to sit down and rest for a while before returning to the city to hand in the mission. Unexpectedly, as soon as my butt touched the stone, I felt a strong vibration. Not good. He suddenly felt something was wrong and hurriedly threw himself forward. The next moment, there was only a bang, and a huge vine stabbed out from under the stone. Hiss. Wei Kai's anus tightened on the spot, and he was dumbfounded. If I hadn't escaped quickly enough, I might have been exploded. But where did this thing come from? Full of doubts, he suddenly looked up, and then saw a scene that shocked him. The towering tree not far away suddenly stretched out countless vines, like huge tentacles, reaching towards him from a distance. Another boss. Wei Kai's eyes suddenly widened. It's endless, right, from the bird monster at the beginning, to the peacock king, and now to the tree demon king. Why do you feel like you can't finish killing them all? He quickly retreated while avoiding the vines piercing out from the ground. At the same time, I am also thinking about how to deal with it. The Dryad King is no better than the Peacock King. Not only can he not fly, he cannot even walk. Although its attack range is wide, as long as you escape, you'll be fine. With this thought, Wei Kai immediately made a decision. The wind is tight, pull. He was too lazy to fight for a meaningless boss battle. What's more, his blood volume has not recovered much, only 240 points. Even if the Tree Demon King is only level 21, he can still be killed in one move. For the sake of his own life, Wei Kai decided to take action as the best strategy. Just when Wei Kai was running wildly, he was on the outskirts of Bird's Forest. Wu Qiliang and Li Rudai noticed something strange in the orchard at the same time. They both looked up at the same time. Then someone shouted, "Captain, it's a tree demon." No, Li Rudai frowned, bit her red lips and said, "Captain Wu, can you help solve it?" The Dryad King is a special boss in the bird forest. It is often born along with the regional boss, the Peacock King. Once it appears, it can quickly breed a large group of bird monsters. At the same time, because of the existence of the tree demon, the plants in the entire bird forest will stop growing, and in severe cases, they may even die. If Blazing Fire Group wants to farm here with peace of mind, it must first get rid of the tree demon, otherwise everything will be in vain. This thing is not easy to deal with, Wu Qiliang said with a bitter smile. I'll go with you, Li Rudai said, took out a long bow from her backpack and entered combat mode directly. Oh well, Wu Qiliang thought for a while and nodded in agreement. The mission of the first action team this time is to protect the scientific research team on the farm. Now that the dryads have spawned nearby, they have the obligation to clean them up to avoid hurting innocent people. It's just that the action team didn't bring many people this time, and he was the only one above level 30. It would be quite troublesome for the members of the action team to deal with this tree demon alone. But if Li Rudai helps, it will be different. As the leader of the Blazing Fire Group, Li Rudai's level has already reached level 35. Among the younger generation in Yongning City, he is also a genius who is far ahead. With her around, it's easy to clean up a dryad. After discussing it, Wu Qiliang led 5 team members and Li Rudai to the orchard. As a result, just as he entered the orchard, a figure bumped into him. Careful, Wu Qiliang shouted quickly. Careful. Wei Kai also shouted, and then turned around to avoid Li Rudai, who almost hit him. The next moment, a huge vine suddenly pierced out from his previous position. Li Rudai's pupils shrank for a moment, and then she was tied up by vines. Seeing this scene, everyone present was stunned. This binding posture. Li Rudai's face suddenly turned dark. Ahem, help people quickly. Wu Qiliang woke everyone up quickly, and then rushed towards Li Rudai. Flame knife, he shouted loudly, and the long knife in his hand burst into flames out of thin air, and then slashed hard at the vines. This knife directly split the vine in half, and Li Rudai was finally able to escape. Ah, I'm going to kill it. As soon as she was freed from the binding, Li Rudai let out a scream and pulled the long bow in her hand. The string of the bow is like the full moon, and the arrows are like shooting stars. An arrow with firelight, like a shooting star, flew directly in the direction of the tree demon. The red light illuminated most of the sky. Boom! Even halfway across the orchard, Wei Kai could feel the huge energy bursting out when the meteor hit the ground. After a while, a huge mushroom cloud rose. Under the violent explosion, half of the dryad's body was blown away. There were only a few tentacle-like vines left. The entire trunk became bare, like a bald head that had lost all its hair. There was even a layer of flame attached to the surface of the tree trunk, which was constantly burning the life of the tree demon. This is too scary. Even from a distance, Wei Kai could see the miserable state of the tree demon. He didn't expect that he would bump into Li Rudai, Captain Wu Qiliang and others here. What's more, I didn't expect that Li Rudai's combat power was so terrifying that she almost killed the tree demon with one arrow. You go and clean up, I won't go. After shooting the arrow, Li Rudai took a deep breath and quickly regained her calm expression. She said lightly, then turned and left. Ah, Wei Kai immediately scratched his head. Judging from Li Rudai's appearance just now, they must have come to kill the tree demon. Why did they just shoot an arrow and leave? The other members of the action team were just as strange as him. We obviously agreed to come together to kill the tree demon, but why did we go back without meeting each other? No need to be surprised. At this moment, Wu Qiliang finally spoke. This tree demon is already dead. Let's just go over and collect its body. Captain Li doesn't need to go. Dead, dead. Everyone's eyes widened at the same time. You will know when we get closer. Wu Qiliang said with a wry smile. Captain Li's meteor drop is not an ordinary attack skill. It is more than enough to deal with a tree demon. Ah, is this move very powerful? Wei Kai asked curiously. Certainly, Wu Qiliang nodded, looked at him and explained. Captain Li's profession is the Suzaku Demon Feather, which is a rare advanced branch of archers. This move is the ultimate move of the Suzaku Demon Feather. Not only is it incredibly lethal, and the cooling time is as long as 1 day. Sharp. After Wei Kai listened, he couldn't help but give a thumbs up. Generally speaking, the longer the cooldown time of a skill, the greater the power of the skill. The cooldown time of this move is as long as 1 day, which is enough to show its power. By the way, how did you get here? After talking for a long time, Wu Qiliang finally came to his senses and looked at Wei Kai curiously. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.